After 10, so Iran get 300 billion quid. The regime is still in place. All of the poor people who were persuaded to trust Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu because they would somehow effect regime change are in a worse position than they were in before, and Donald Trump is doing a lap of honour. And I don't know that anyone would put money on Benjamin Netanyahu abiding to the terms of this deal as opposed to torching the whole thing by continuing his murderous rampage in Lebanon. Have I missed anything out? It's so depressing, isn't it? Normally, if you make a prediction, it's not like getting the lottery numbers right, is it, Keith? Normally, when you make a prediction, there is at least a frisson of satisfaction or fulfilment attached to it, but not on this kind of stuff. Hasn't been for 10 years now, almost to the week. It's next week that we celebrate that particular anniversary, although, of course, the people that won will not be celebrating, which kind of speaks volumes, doesn't it? More perhaps on that a little later in the programme, but I can't get a phone-in out of this. I don't think anyone can get a phone-in out of this, really. Not an interesting phone-in, because who's going to claim? I suppose if you were a Donald Trump fan and you were too embarrassed to admit what a hideous mistake you'd mean by backing him, you might pretend that there was a debate to be had. Is this a good deal? What do you think of it? But that's a bit like having a debate about whether the Pope is a Catholic or bears defecate in woodland glades. It's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I don't think anybody can cling to the notion that this has not once again turned into one of those things that the critics of Trump have been proved completely right about. The other story in the news today involves the criminals involved in the January the 6th insurrection preparing to apply for millions of dollars in compensation. Compensation for what? And the second piece of the story is the so-called deal that we have been saying for weeks, I kid you not, for weeks, was going to look exactly like it looks like and would be greeted by exactly the kind of behaviour that you're seeing. Remember when people used the phrase Trump derangement syndrome? They were the ones that thought he was a good guy. They were the ones that thought he was going to deliver good stuff, all the good stuff. Dick Littlejohn in the Daily Mail, never been more ashamed to be British than when Keir Starmer declined to join in with this absolute madness, almost certainly illegal, but absolutely certifiably insane behaviour. I don't know what he's writing about this week, probably 25-year-old episodes of Crackerjack, but here we are. And it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter that we're right. It doesn't matter that we've been proved right about it because nothing really shifts. The needle doesn't move. Donald Trump fans will continue to be Donald Trump fans in significant enough numbers to make a mockery of reality and truth. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. I hate it when this happens. I can't get a phone in out of this because there are no conflicting opinions. What do you think of this deal? Well, it's great for the Iranians. The regime hasn't changed. They come out of it $300 billion for the good, and there are absolutely no guarantees in place that they will neither or not end up with a nuclear weapon. The enriched uranium that Tehran already has appears to have been subject to an unspecified arrangement, although just a couple of days ago Donald Trump was saying, hey, it's no big deal, the enriched... Imagine how, I mean, Israeli people who are not... haven't had their brains boiled by Benjamin Netanyahu. Imagine how they feel about hearing Donald Trump say, hey, don't worry about the enriched, don't worry about the nuclear dust, that's fine, it's no big deal. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He'll tell you on a Monday that black is white, and he'll tell you on a Tuesday that black is black again, and then on a Wednesday that black is white, that up is down, that left is right, that peace is war, that ignorance is strength, and that freedom is slavery. And on it jolly well goes. 7 minutes after 10 is the time. May have a little bit of misinformation for you later in the programme with regard to flags, but it is to the football that we turn our attention next. And it's a story that I've not asked you before. I hear people pretending not to understand why the country has become so divided, particularly in the aftermath of Joe Cox's sister pointing out that the country has never been more divided. I mean, it's obvious why. We have allowed liars and racists to not just contribute to public discourse, but to dominate it in ways that had been successfully excised for years. Not that many years, but we had a brief and pleasant period wherein you couldn't use certain words. You certainly wouldn't be able to sustain a political career if you revealed that you hate seeing black people on the television. You wouldn't be able to rise to prominence in this country if your platform essentially involved hatred of Muslims for the crime of being Muslim. You wouldn't be able to sustain any semblance of integrity if you had greeted the decision by footballers to take the knee in stadia up and down the country with anything other than approval. A simple gesture designed to express disdain for racism can only be denigrated by people who either don't think it goes far enough, who I respect, or people who don't think that you should be showing disdain for racism in public spaces because racism is great. And here we go. Thomas Tuchel has addressed the issue, speaking to Sky News this week about racist abuse directed at England players. He says he wishes he could just turn it all off, but that can't happen in 2026, which is precisely the point that I'm making. Because if I had stumbled across this morning people using the N-word on social media to describe two of yesterday's goal scorers, two of last night's goal scorers, then I would have tuned it out 10 years ago. I would have felt, well, these people don't matter. They have been consigned to the dustbin of history. And while they may persist in this kind of behaviour, the rest of us don't need to care about it. And a huge part of me wishes that was still true. A huge part of me probably tries to persuade myself some mornings that it is true. Don't talk about these people. Don't talk about them. Don't give them the oxygen of publicity. But that does two things. Number one, it involves a little bit of head in the sand behaviour. And number two, I think it betrays brilliant Englishmen like Jude Bellingham, proud son of Stourbridge. I really do. I just think we have a duty as patriots to stick up for our fellow countrymen when they're coming under attack from traitors and racists. And it occurred to me as I was preparing to talk to you about this morning. Obviously, we've deleted the programme from last week where we were expressing profound misgivings about the World Cup and wondering why we all felt such a deep lack of enthusiasm and what on earth could it mean about the bigger... I don't know where that came from. I think someone spiked my tea. I've never seen an England side perform as well as they did in the second half last night. Absolutely magical. If it wasn't for the Croatian goalkeeper, I think we could have scored 10 goals. And genuinely, it was just... I've never seen anything like it. It was like playing FIFA against someone who's never played it before. You're just peppering the goal. About a 10 to 15 minute period where you thought you were watching Brazil from the 1970s. Absolutely magnificent. And then, of course, you turn on your devices in the morning, and unless you have your head in a bucket, you encounter the kind of thing that Thomas Tuchel, the England manager... and one of the things I should have mentioned yesterday, how wonderful it is. What's that song lyric? Now that you're in this world, is it? How wonderful. Anyway, how wonderful it is that our media, our newspapers are now so toothless, as in they don't have the power. But also, that's not fair. Maybe they've changed a lot. I don't know if you were alive in the 80s or the 90s, but the way that angry old men who thought that they could make themselves happier by turning the whole world into an angry place used to attack our football team in the most hideous ways. And not even in racist ways, really. Just in hideous ways. Attacking the manager, attacking the players. Before this tournament had even started, they'd be public enemies. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, 9, 10 and 11. It was extraordinary. And no wonder we never won anything, even when we had a brilliant team. Even when we had great teams. No wonder we never won anything. And no wonder we started coming close to winning things when Gareth Southgate had managed to completely change the tone of the national story. And, of course, to defend his players against racism from the kind of people soon to be found trying to hang a flag from your nearest lamppost. Apart from some nonsense that I didn't really follow about Thomas Tuchel saying he'd only sing the national anthem if we got to the final, there hasn't been any lazy 1980s style tabloid attempts to turn this tournament into a negative before it even had the chance to be a positive. But you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it because, as Thomas Tuchel says, you can't turn away from the racist abuse that appears online. You just can't. And here he is talking about it.
I cannot protect them from social media abuse. I would love to protect them and switch all our phones off. That is a solution, but that is maybe not the solution. The most healthy thing would be that we just turn all the stuff off, but it's not happening in 2026 with young guys. The FA is doing everything to protect them and help them. Me personally, I can't. I can't just recommend to not do it.
I'm going to play that again because I think it should actually be blared out of loudspeakers whenever anybody is pretending not to understand why flags hanging from public property at times not of international sporting tournaments are at best controversial, at worst downright aggressive. This is all part of the same pattern. It's very important that you don't let anybody force you into pretending otherwise or into sort of both sidesing it. You've got a council saying we're a little bit worried that the practice of putting these flags up might be aggressive or intimidating, and you've got one of the key people involved in putting these flags up currently under arrest and for suspected murder. So I don't know how bent or stupid you have to be not to understand why there is controversy here at least, and quite possibly aggression and intimidation there at worst. But when a football tournament is going on, it's a slightly different proposition. I'm going to play it to you again because this should, as I say, be blared out from loudspeakers up and down the country, especially the people that will cheer an England player, cheer an Englishman when he scores a goal, and then call him the N-word when he misses a penalty.
I cannot protect them from social media abuse. I would love to protect them and switch all our phones off. That is a solution, but that is maybe not the solution. The most healthy thing would be that we just turn all the stuff off, but it's not happening in 2026 with young guys. The FA is doing everything to protect them and help them. Me personally, I can't. I can't just recommend to not do it.
Here's a question. They're these people that Thomas Tuchel is talking about, and you know that they are no longer confined, sadly, to online silos. They occupy positions of prominence in both politics and the media, although, as is always the case when there is a by-election unfolding, we will be incredibly careful and conscientious in avoiding any talk of anything remotely political. But the rhetoric, the verbal violence, the hideousness is not confined anymore to online silos. In fact, quite the opposite. It's actively encouraged on Elon Musk's platform, indulged, amplified, celebrated. And that seeps out into the real world in so many ways, And I find it, and I hope this doesn't sound... Actually, why am I hoping it doesn't sound? It doesn't sound in any way holier than thou. This is what an honest, decent Englishman would say, okay? I don't care what colour you are. I care about the colour of your shirt when it comes to a World Cup. I honestly cannot imagine having a different opinion of an England player, of an Englishman, because of the colour of his skin. I just can't imagine it. I think... Actually, I've got a question for you. Keith has suggested I take an early break, an early bath, in fact, and then actually observe the normal rules of radio programmes and don't sort of talk for 25 minutes uninterrupted, squeeze a little advert in, take one call and go to the news. I would point out to Keith that this is currently the most listened to speech programme in the history of UK commercial radio, so I must be doing something right, mate. Any comment? Yeah, there is, you're right. There is always room for improvement. Well played. And the people who do care, the people who say that they do care, the people who will cheer Jude Bellingham when he scores a goal and call him the N-word when he misses a penalty, the same with Bukayo Saka or whichever players it may be. I'm going to ask you a question about those people that I've never asked you before. But in honour of Keith, I'm going to ask you that question after this.
James O'Brien on LBC.
Goodness sake, take a hydration break. That's what we shall call them for the next few weeks, Keith. We'll call them hydration breaks. I quite like them. Gives you a chance to pop into the kitchen, doesn't it? Or when you get to my age, to use the facilities. But I can see why the crowd doesn't. It does rather break up the play. Jude Bellingham in the 47th minute, of course, was a glorious goal. But Marcus Rashford's in the 86th was a little reminder of what that lad went through at the hands of racists. An extraordinarily courageous young man, but my goodness me, it's easy to forget, isn't it? Because we move on quickly to the next thing. But the abuse he received, absolutely extraordinary, and all beginning with the taking of the knee, which even people in this profession either professed or pretended not to see or not to understand, was a simple statement of rejection of racism, endemic and institutional racism, the kind of which we see evidence of every single day. And today, as Thomas Tuchel warned us would happen, you will find people using the N-word to describe England players, or saying that Africans can't be English, all sorts of abuses being unleashed upon these giants. And the question I've never asked you is this. It might be a really stupid question. It might even be a question that only a white person could ask. What do they get out of it? What do they get out of it? There's been a debate that I haven't joined at all in the last couple of years about whether or not someone is English. Various weirdos insisting that Rishi Sunak can't be English because he's a brown Hindu. Or presumably that Jude Bellingham, proud son of Stourbridge, can't be English because he's got a black parent. Or you can't be English if you can't trace your family back to the Doomsday Book. Or you can't be English if you don't have 4 grandparents that were born south of Hadrian's Wall but east of Offa's Dyke. I mean, it's such... And the debate is conducted even by well-meaning people on the other side of the debate as if it's a valid intellectual question. People have this conversation and stroke their beards and say things like, well, of course we should do. Why? Why are we even having it as a debate? Why is it even a debate? Something so utterly nebulous, so utterly unscientific as Englishness. We are essentially a mongrel nation. You find me someone that can trace their lineage back to the Beaker people, and I will show you a genuine Englishman or a genuine Englishwoman. One of the best stories in recent years involved a bloke in Somerset. I kid you. I love this story. There's a bloke in Somerset. They found a skull in Cheddar George, right? I think it might have been a Neanderthal skull. It was certainly a very, very old skull. And they somehow managed to do a DNA test on it, and they found a teacher in Somerset who was a direct descendant of the bloke who had left a thousands, plural, year-old skull. But I should probably have got the details of this story in front of me before I waded in on it. But they found him, and, I mean, I'm not saying that when you saw a photograph of the bloke, you sort of went, oh, yeah, I can see the resemblance. But when you saw a photo of the bloke, you did I mean, just incredible, right? But it does two things. It shows you how ridiculous it is to think that loyalty to a country or patriotism is anything other than a state of mind. Of course, it's not biological or genetic or any of those things. It's a state of mind. It's a salute to a flag. It's an expression of authentic and sincere loyalty. It's being on the bridge of the HMS Victory with Nelson, despite the fact that had more nationalities and more colours than a rainbow flag. It is insane to have this conversation. Englishness is a state of mind. And the people who pretend that it isn't, or the people who believe that it isn't, the people who believe you can't... Daniel Hannan, do you remember him? The mask has slipped. He used to be the sensible Brexiter, the rational one, the one that rejected the racism. He's constantly to be found spouting utter bilge in the Daily Mail and online. He's the bloke that wrote a sort of weird fantasy fever dream about what the country would look like now. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. But he was on social media yesterday saying, I took a phone call from a Frenchman and I asked him why he wasn't watching the France-Senegal match, and he said, well, it's the legal migrants versus the illegal migrants. And you just sort of think, what's wrong with you? Not, let's have a debate about what the true essence of French is. I mean, how can you be an illegal migrant playing for Senegal? It doesn't even make sense. But, of course, racism doesn't make sense. Daniel Hannan doesn't make sense. These things are insane. Racism is a lie. It's a fundamental, massive lie. It turns everybody who is seduced by it into liars. And the person that they lie to most effectively is themselves. The king isn't English, according to these clowns. The king isn't English. Harry Kane isn't English, according to these idiots, except, of course, they're both white, so they don't mean them. Any pretense that it's about family trees or lineage or heritage or genetics or biology, you just have to flush it down the toilet when a white bloke fails your tests. So, what do they get out of it? Not just Billy Bunch of Numbers with a bulldog avatar, as he used to be. Now he's out and proud and using his real name on social media and getting paid by Elon Musk's algorithms. What do they get out of it? Not just online, but in real life as well. We'll begin with a specific focus upon the people who will be abusing England heroes for being black and claiming that they're not English. A position that 10 years ago I wouldn't even have wasted tuppence examining. But today, as Thomas Tuchel says, you have to. You can't ignore it. What do they get out of it? What is the trade-off for racists? I understand what the public figures get out of it. They get money, they get status, they get influence, they get profile. But what do the followers get out of it? What do the clowns, what do the tragic figures whose lives are dominated by ludicrous arguments about lineage and heritage and genetics, but also at the shallow end of that gene, the shallower end of that gene, particular gene pool, what do you get out of attacking England football players for not being English because they're black? What do you get out of it? What's the transaction? I've tried to think of that. I've thought about it. I've talked about racism because we have to, sadly, because the other lot are winning at the moment. You know they are. You saw it on the streets of Belfast last week. You saw it on the streets of Southport last summer. The racists are winning in this country. You see it in Labour policies. The racists are winning. So you have to talk about it. You can't stop fighting. You can't walk away because, well, it's not really my fight. You have to talk about it. And every now and then, every 2 years, something comes along in our sporting calendar that drags the attention, absolutely drags the attention back to the absurdity of it all. And you realise that so much of the conversation and the discourse is absurd. Even sensible people that I admire turning up to debate people about the nature of Englishness. It's insane. It makes no sense. There is no criteria you can put in place that doesn't fall apart after a nanosecond. Do you know who your great-great-great-great-grandfather was? I remember the first time I took a call from someone who started talking about the indigenous tribes of Northern Europe. I thought then and I thought now, you're a bloody idiot, mate. But what do you get out of it? What's the reward? What's the payoff? What's the premium? What is the racism premium for people who aren't in public life, for people who haven't commoditised their bigotry? What's the racism premium for the foot soldiers rather than the generals? Because I'll tell you what you lose the ability to watch last night with a sense of undiluted wonder and joy. You lose the 45 minutes, or I suppose technically, well, it was more because of extra time, but from the 47th minute onwards, after the ups and downs, the roller coaster of the first half, you lose that joy. You've sacrificed that. But people have persuaded you to sacrifice the joy of supporting England properly last night on the altar of their bigotry, which they've somehow infected you with. And I don't know what you get in return. If you're an ex-racist, can you remember? What was the hit? What was the high? What was the dopamine? If you're a reformed racist, can you remember? 03456060973. Otherwise, the rest of us are going to have to try to work it out together. What do you get? So if I went racist now, and there's plenty of people in my line of work who walk tightropes to varying degrees of efficiency of racism. Oh, I don't know about taking the knee, for example. Yeah, you're racist. What would I get out of it? Would I have even more listeners if I went? I don't know. What would I? But no, not on a professional level, on an internal, emotional or psychological level. If I started thinking I was better than you because you're black, what do I get out of that? What do I get? What's the kickback? What's the payoff? What's the premium? I know what the famous ones get. I know what the ones you can name get. We all know what they get. They get power. They get newspaper columns. They get profile. They get money. They get status. They get attention. What do you get? What does the ordinary Joe get in return for deploying the sort of racism that sees them watch black Englishmen score goals and decide that rather than celebrate with the rest of us, they're going to attack the black Englishman for being black? What is the deal? 0345 6060 973.
James O'Brien on LBC.
32 is the time. A post from the Scotland national team about Andrew Watson, who was born in 1856, made history in 1881 by becoming the first black player to play international association football when he captained Scotland to a 6-1 victory over England. Did you know that? Do you know the story of Andrew Watson from the middle of the 19th century? No, you don't. So the Scotland national team stuck it up on social media back in May, and one of the first replies was, "No N-word can be Scottish," and it is from someone who appears to be comfortable using their real name. And it is just one example of the kind of thing that some people who are possessed of stronger stomachs than me are chronicling on a daily basis. And it's happening now, and it's happening to our England players. And Thomas Tuchel has pointed out that you can't ignore it even if you would want to, because it's something that they have to deal with. And the question I have never asked you before, I think I've never asked you before, although my memory's not what it was, what do they get out of it? What's the trade-off? The person sitting at home, whether they've been near social media in their lives or not, and they watch Marcus Rashford score a goal, or they watch Jude Bellingham score a goal, if their racism extends to Irish people of Irish heritage, they watch Harry Kane score a goal and they shout at the telly, "You're not English!" Or in the case of Rashford and Bellingham, worse. What's the payoff? What comes out at the bottom of the fruit machine when those three racist lemons appear on the reels? Kylo's in Wokingham. Kylo, what would you like to say?
Hi, James.
Hello, mate.
You'll have to bear with me because I have quite bad ADHD, so I can go left, right and centre.
Yeah, okay, mate.
But basically, so growing up in South London, I was brought up in Brixton, and we moved from Brixton to Hounslow. So I played football at a good level, sort of QPR, Brentford, Watford. And then moving to Hounslow, there was sort of a divide between Whitton and Feltham. And this is when I first started experiencing racism in football. So I was seen as one of the good mixed race people who was allowed to play with the white people in Feltham and Whitton. And I never understood it, how he's a good one. He could play with us, but they can't. And then going from
I don't know if I need to say this, but there'll be loads of people from Felton and Whitton who are white, who are utterly repelled. I've got family from Whitton, as it goes, who are utterly repelled by what you're describing, but you're describing what you experienced.
What I experienced. This is purely my experience playing football, and then moving from Hounslow to Wokingham, which is predominantly white. I then experienced playing football, being told to go back to Marwell Zoo.
Really?
Whilst playing a game, a fan on the side of the sidelines, I scored a goal, celebrated, and he told me to go back to Marwell Zoo. So that was one of a team full of white players, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to react.
How old were you?
I reckon I was 15, 16 at that point.
Oh.
And I just like, what can you do? There was nothing I could do, so apart from continue playing, put my head down, and I scored a goal. So to me, that was all I cared about. And then from growing up watching England play in pubs, when a black player would miss a penalty, to hearing the N-word the moment they missed a penalty, but it was fine for a white player to miss a penalty. And even the last World Cup in the final, obviously when we lost in penalties, that feeling and anxiousness of knowing what racism is going to be online, what you're going to experience being a mixed race person in a very white area, it has changed dramatically, Wokingham, it has, but it's just horrible. It's horrible.
I don't know, so I'll just ask you, but I would have thought that it was worse today than it was when you were 15.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, obviously, I remember what happened to people like Cyril Regis. You're probably too young, and latterly to John Barnes and the bananas being thrown onto the pitch.
Yeah.
But the anti-racism initiatives in football were largely successful, and then something blew the lid off, didn't it? A few years ago.
Social media just it allowed the people who were sort of saying it in their living room to now saying it online, seeing it online. I don't even watch football down the pub because I can't.
We obviously have different ethnicities, but I can't imagine. I genuinely can't imagine, and sometimes I try, Kylo. I hope that doesn't make me sound weird, but you know what I do for a living, and some of the subjects that come around again and again. So Harry Kane misses a penalty last night.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that he's white would never feature in my response to that moment. I don't think in a million years. I'm trying to think like a computer just with an endless screed of text rolling down a screen, and what's going on in my brain, whether it's like yours with a bit of ADHD or not, and it's going off at tangents and you can't fully control it. I mean, unless you've got Tourette's and you genuinely don't know what is going to come out of your mouth, and you will say things that you are utterly and immediately embarrassed and ashamed by, as we saw at the BAFTAs. The fact that a white bloke missed a penalty, the whiteness of the bloke that missed a penalty is never going to appear on that screen, even if it spools and scrolls for 100 years. The fact that he's white is never going to appear.
Never. And that's the mind-blowing thing that comes to me. Like, it
is mind-blowing.
And as a mixed-race person, it really is. It's hurtful, it's painful, and it's just... I struggle to even sometimes watch England in certain games in case a scenario like that happens. And, I mean, my wife will tell you... Well, she won't tell you because you won't speak to her. But
well, you say that, mate.
That final, honestly, I was sat in my living room. We had guests round, and I said, this is going to be horrendous. And I knew it was going to be. And the social media was just... It exploded with racism. And you just think to yourself, like, you're forgetting Jude Bellingham just scored the bicycle kick to get us through to this. Everything goes out of their head, and it's just the colour of their skin. And it is my first call to you because, other than the ADHD conversation, which I tried getting through to you, this is something which really, really plays on my mind, because I try to bring my kids up who are more 3/4 white, a quarter black. I try to get them to understand that there is no colour. Everyone's the same. And, if you don't see the person's colour, they're just a human. And
or an Englishman.
That's exactly it. An Englishman. We are all English, and that's what blows my mind. And they're up the elitist level, playing football for our country, putting their body on the line to make us win something. Yeah. I mean... What has their colour got to do with...
Well, also, it's the ultimate meritocracy as well, which racists have started using the word meritocracy to attempt to undo attempts to battle racism. You know, sport... I mentioned the other day, you can't be a Formula One driver unless you're brilliant. I got bombarded with mention of some poor Canadian bloke who apparently was a rubbish Formula One driver. But generally speaking, sport is the great leveler, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You come through the ranks and you triumph like these lads. What do you think they get out of it? So, I mean, I'm not making excuses, but you know what it's like at school, and you want to hurt someone and you'll pick on something that makes them different. So it might be the fact they're a bit overweight, or they wear spectacles, or they've got ginger hair, or they're black. And on a football pitch with fellow players, maybe with fans, there can be a little bit of that. But these guys are attacking their own side. So it's a completely different impulse. What do you think they get out of? I
think, like, when I was in the pub and I remember hearing the N-word being said, when I can't remember who's missed the penalty, it might have been Sterling or someone like that.
Or Saka, I think, missed one as well, didn't he?
And I looked around and I looked at the person. This is a person who was my friend, by the way. Right. Someone I knew, grew up with, went to school with. And I think it's just such an easy target to make themselves feel...
What?
Like, it's their fault. Like, it's their fault, but because they're black, I'm going to shout this out. It's like a hurtful thing without even realising what he said. And he looked at me and he said, sorry. Right. And I'm like, I'm your mixed race mate and you've just said that. Like, And I walked out the pub, and I still, to this moment, I cannot understand what made him think it was okay to set at that point. But
I'm not sure we will. You know,
No.
I'm sticking with this until at least 11 o'clock, but I'm not sure it is something that can be articulated, even by the people that did it. If you said to him, what did you get out of that then?
that's what I don't get. And I cannot understand it. And I've experienced it throughout my life. So one of my rules are, as having white friends, is I don't want black jokes. Don't try and use me as a joke, or, like silly little sly comments people make.
I don't mean you. I don't mean you, mate.
Yeah. Here's my
You're
black
all right.
friend.
You're a good
all
one.
right. Yeah, you're a good one. That's it. I'm not that person. So please don't be like that with me, and please don't make me a joke. Just like you wouldn't with a gay person or anything like that. But for some reason, when it comes to sport, colour is easily defined, and it's just horrible. It's
just horrible. And I wonder, listen, I'm going to stick with it. I don't think I'll get a better call than you, but we're no closer, really, to knowing what they get out of. Do you think your mate who used the N-word, and forgive me if this is a crass question, because it might be a question to which the answer is obviously yes. Is he racist?
Well, this is what this is what's so difficult. It's like you don't do it in every you don't do it in any other scenario. You're not saying it in any other scenario. But the moment someone misses a penalty, colour comes into play, and I went through a stage of growing up at school, not experiencing any form of different identity to other people.
Because it had been outlawed effectively because of DEI. Initiatives and because of anti-racist programs.
Yeah, and it was. It got to the point now where recently, where I would go to Quotes. I own a business. I'll go to Quotes, and I get worried being a different colour compared to other people, and what effect that could have on me winning work.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it's got to now.
Yes, we're going backwards. I mean, obviously we're going backwards. You can see that in the expressions of civil disobedience or violence on the streets of our towns and cities, which is actively fomented and encouraged by people whose names we all know. But, of course, the low-level stuff, that's just the high-level stuff. That's just the pogroms and the riots. The low-level stuff is going to be the language that's used in pubs in front of mixed-race, Quotes, friends. And, of course, the underlying fear that someone is going to be looking at you and changing their opinion of you based on the colour of your skin, which would involve me watching Harry Kane missing a penalty. I mean, how many black people do we think watched Harry Kane miss a penalty and decided immediately to focus on his whiteness? Listen, maybe there are a few, I don't know, but how many black people watched Harry Kane miss a penalty last night? Thank God it got excised from the record books, although I don't know what the hell he thought he was playing at with that little stutter. They watched Harry Kane miss a penalty and they immediately attacked him for being white. Because remember, anti-white racism in this country is off the flipping charts. So presumably, under the analysis of our society from the people who claim that anti-white racism is off the charts, Harry Kane is going to would have needed a police guard if that penalty hadn't been retaken, because everyone's going to be attacking him for being white, including, I don't know, police forces that are 96% white, because they're anti-white racist as well, according to some people. Can you get past that observation there? How many people of colour, of any colour, responded to Harry Kane's potential penalty miss by attacking him for being white? So, Kylo and I so far have failed, although he's been a heck of a lot more articulate than I have, to work out what they get out of it. 0345 6060 973.
James O'Brien on LBC.
You are listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Buckle up. I want to launch a new feature on the part. Keith's little head his face just fell. Eleanor is looking increasingly harried. I haven't told them yet what this feature is. I'd like to do a feature called Mystic Jim. Mystic Jim. Should learn how to speak first before I launch new features. And what it will involve is me circling back to headlines or stories that make clear that something I predicted a while ago has come gloriously or ingloriously true. And what it would involve is a spooky voice going, Mystic Jim! And then maybe some music, like the music from Tales of the Unexpected. Do you remember that music from when we were kids? Oh, you're too young, probably. I mean, the lazy bit would be the Twilight Zone. In fact, pretty much all music you hear on the radio is a articulation of laziness. We're talking about Ulez. Here's Drive by the Cars. But occasionally I think the exception proves the rule. So you'd usually play the Twilight Zone music if you're doing something spooky, wouldn't you? Do-do-do-do-do-do. Mystic Jim. Do-do-do-do-do. And as I do that, I'm realising that's probably how it's going to end up, because I never get any production. Biggest show in town. I don't get anything. If I was Emily Maitlis, I'd have it already. I'd have it before I'd thought of it. If I was Emily Maitlis, I'd be sitting here on the newsagents and I'd go, "Oh, I've just had an idea." And the producer as a newsagent would go, "Oh, yes, we've been expecting you. Here's the production and the title of your new feature. Here it is." But me, little old me, I sit here, come up with brilliant feature ideas like Unhinged Headline. Takes about 8 months to get a jingle. Woke Watch. We haven't done that for a while, have we? Takes about 2 years.
Woke Watch.
Oh, there you go. It's better late than never. I get nothing. So I quite like Mystic Jim. And I've got 2 contenders for Mystic Jim today, one of which is kind of obvious and one of which slightly less so, both of which I've already told you, but I'm not going to let that stand in the way of a bit of fun. Just giving you a quick heads up. New feature incoming. So probably by February of 2027, we'll have a jingle. But was that a bit optimistic, Keith, do you think? Optimistic. February 2027. Stand by for a brilliant new feature with production and jingles and stings, even, you can call them, on the James O'Brien Show. So here is the first episode of Mystic Jim. Trump claims total victory with Iran deal. How many times did I tell you that was going to happen? And that the deal would be absolutely nothing of the sort. It would leave America in a weaker position, Israel completely sidelined, and Iran even stronger. Well, not even stronger, because they're not strong. Iran's murderous, vile regime in a stronger position than it was before. So there is the first episode of... I can't do that. I'm going to get a tickly throat if I do it again. I'll do a quiet version. This is what it'll end up sounding like. Mystic Jim. Coming soon to a radio. Coming not soon to a radio near you. 10:52 is the time. Gary's in Walthamstow to steer us back to the serious question, which I don't know we can answer, but we're going to talk about the subject behind the question anyway. What do these people abusing black English football players get out of that behaviour, Gary?
A difficult question to answer.
Well, you've heard the show before, mate. You know how it works.
I've heard the show for the last 25 years. And
nearly. Let's not get carried away. It's not quite. It's about 22, I think, and counting.
Well, 22 for you.
Do you know what else I never got? Do you know what else I never got, Gary?
What's that?
Never got a party, never got an anniversary, never even got a pat on the back. Other people get like special programs dedicated to their greatest hits and finest. I got nothing. Didn't even get a lollipop.
I'll do a barbecue for you, James.
Oh, cheers,
let me know.
Cheers. I like chicken wings this season. I'll
do wicked chicken wings. Listen, I grew up in the early 70s as a young man in the east of London.
Right.
And I probably can't explain to you what they get from it, but I don't want to offend anyone that's got a religion.
Okay.
But it is a little bit like religion, because these people from birth have been bred to think that they are superior to just about anyone that's not white. And they genuinely think that. So they continually need to reinforce that and that belief. So anytime there's something that indicates to them that they're not better, they have to find a way to denigrate it and knock it down. I fought for England in karate in the 80s. Yeah. I'm sitting in the European Championships in Paris with my colleagues, and we were talking about something. And then one of my colleagues, white person, said, "Well, but you're not really English."
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? To this day, it doesn't haunt me, but I just kind of think, you know, I mean, being English or Scottish or Welsh or African has nothing to do with you as an individual. You didn't choose. Like when people say, if someone said to me, "Are you proud to be English?" I would say, not necessarily, because I didn't necessarily. Well, in actual fact, I'm probably more prouder to be it because my parents chose to come here.
Yeah.
than someone that's born here who was just by accident you arrived here.
Some of us are born English, some of us achieve Englishness, and some of us have Englishness thrust upon us.
Yeah. So these guys, when they go out and they have to shout and you know, lack of self-esteem is something that I believe comes to me in terms of that. You've been taught since you were born that the sky's pink. Then you go outside and you realise the sky's actually blue.
Yeah.
But you won't accept that. You just can't accept it because that's what you've been taught. And as you say, when the facts change, you change your mind. With those people, when the facts change, they don't change anything at all. They continue believing the lie because they need to reinforce their superiority. You know, me as a black person, I could be I could be doing brilliantly in life. I move on to a sinker state, and no matter what, the white people in that state will immediately look at me as less than them.
Some of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah, okay.
I've lived on those estates. I've lived on those estates. I grew up on a council estate.
And they can't. And under this analysis, they have very little choice in the process. It's conditioned, like religion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I'll give you an example. My neighbour, when we were younger, he used to. We were two things. The neighbours got a petition to have us kicked out because we were one of the first black families in the area. They actually wrote to the council.
Wow.
Right. Now, my neighbour, after they realised we weren't going to eat them, they used to come to our house, my same age as my younger brother. Right. He would sleep over, they would have our food and all the rest of it. So from probably the age of about 5 or 6. When they got to about 15, 16, they were having a discussion with my sister. Yeah. And he said to my sister, I would never go out with a white girl that's been out with a black person.
In your house?
Yeah, this is in the garden, in the front garden. Yeah. And she said, well, what about... And she mentioned my brother's name. Yeah. She said, oh, no, but can't count him. Right. And these are people that we grew up with. We were supposedly best friends, you know. We spent hours playing football on the field. But
it's just there. It's just there from the cradle.
We were better educated than them. Even now, when I look back, we've done far better than them in terms of socially, financially, all those sorts of things. But but in their head, we were always inferior. And if the truth then confronts you and you can't accept it, you've got to find a way to it's like a thief, isn't it? Someone that steals things has to convince themselves that what they're doing isn't wrong. Because if their conscience kicks in and tells them that it's wrong, they will find it difficult to do. As you would. You'd find it almost impossible to walk into a shop and steal something and walk out without the guilt kicking in.
Yeah.
But they have to continually convince themselves, I'm not doing anything wrong. Because otherwise you would not be able to sleep. So you have to shut down a part of your brain, which is that racist element of it. As I said, I don't believe black people are racist. They're prejudiced, but I don't believe they're racist. And the reason I'll give you for that is you can't tell me any group of black people or any nation of black people that have said we are superior to whites. Germany has tried to prove that they're superior to blacks. England have. Portugal have. The Spanish have. The Chinese have. The Japanese have. The Belgians have. And some of them are actually doing experiments to prove that.
Yeah.
So
and that is, I think, and I have to be allowed to think out loud on the programme. I think that is a graph that you describe. And on that graph, eugenics is at one extreme. But on that graph is the debate that has been allowed to spring up recently about Englishness, about the idea that you can't be English because you're black, or if you can prove to me that all 8 of your great-great-grandparents, or 16, or I can't remember. Do you see what I mean? It's such a nebulous argument, but they're trying to pretend that it's scientific, or they're trying to cloak it in statistical relevance. Rishi Sunak can't be English because he's a brown Hindu. Just bog off.
James, I'll give you one little fact. I had to go and do some work in the West Indies in Ireland. I won't identify the island. It was when my mother died. We had land out there. Okay. So I had to try and find some documents. So I was going to the registry office. Do you know who was the major owners in the 1700s of the property? It was a guy called Copeland from Liverpool. Yeah. And the Church of England. Right. And
that's what you say about turning off your conscience, isn't it? So you're in church learning that all people are equal. It's a bit like the kind of characters who use the phrase Judeo-Christian values these days, which is used to somehow justify attacks upon people who look different from them. It's the least, Chris, you see it a lot in Trump's administration, it's the least Christian position imaginable. I'm late for the news, but I want to ask you something else.
Yeah, sure.
Because from the outside looking in, things got a lot better, and Kylo agreed with this. And you know, whether you're looking at Gareth Southgate's tenure as the England football manager and the incredible work he did and encapsulated in that letter, the Dear England letter, which is now a stage play and a television film, or if you just remember the days of bananas being thrown onto pitches and the anti-racism campaigns that were specific to football. The thing I don't know is whether or not the people you're describing were still having these conversations at home, even though they knew they were no longer allowed to have them in public. And now we're watching the slow and increasingly quick return to them feeling perfectly comfortable having these conversations in public. Elon Musk actively encourages it and indeed pays them to do so. But do you think all of those conversations still carried on, despite the fact that the public space had been sanitised?
Yeah, I can give you two examples. When I first started as an apprentice in East London, I remember going to the door with the electrician. He was white. The person opened the door, said, "You can come in, but he can't." And I had the similar thing just yesterday, because I still work for a local authority. Right. I was trying to find an address on an estate, and there was this flagged up property, and all I heard was the F word and the N word. F off. And the N-word.
I'm so sorry.
No, you don't. Listen, James.
I can't help it. I am.
I know you are, but you know what? It's water off a duck's back, because if you take that on board, you'll go crazy. You simply cannot. And when my oldest son first became able to drive, the first thing I said to him, "You're going to get stopped. If you've got any issues, and they will allow you to ring the phone, ring me. But just don't do anything. Let them do whatever they need to do, and get on your way. Don't antagonise. Don't do anything at all." That was my first.
But Gary, come on, mate. That was before the police became anti-white.
I know. And you know, sorry,
don't say any names. Don't say any names. There's a by-election on.
No, actually, the bit I was going to tell you, I can't tell you because the person that I was going to talk about could probably identify me. But it's not a nasty thing, but it's just an ironic thing.
Let's save it for that barbecue.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, man. Oh, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers, Gary. You take care. Thank you, mate. It's 2 minutes after 11. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC.
James O'Brien on LBC.
6 minutes after 11. The country is more divided than ever before. Oh, let's have a conversation about why that might be, says nobody sensible ever, because we all know why it is. It's crystal clear. Racism is back with a vengeance. Elon Musk will pay you for being racist on his social media platform. Media and political figures are being feted and rewarded for being racist. People who call for pogroms can achieve folk hero status in this country at the moment by being incredibly racist. And England football players can be abused in terms that were once confined to the National Front and their closest acolytes in broad daylight on social media platforms, particularly the one Elon Musk owns, that the government still uses to complain about racism. Here's a platform where you get paid for being racist. You get paid and promoted for being racist. Oh, and here's the government using it to complain about racism. Riddle me that. But a question I don't think we can answer. Actually, that's not true. Gary did a pretty good job of answering it. Kylo did a pretty good job. Well, they both did brilliant jobs in different areas. Gary addressing the question, Kylo reminding us what it would feel like. And I'm thinking about the men and women who abuse black English football players for not being English or for being black or both. And I'm wondering what they get out of it. And that is a question that I think is worth worrying at. Because if you work out what they get out of it, you're going to be able to do a much better job of diffusing it. I hate the way that public school educated bigots have used the phrase working class in recent years as a synonym for racist. as if being working class or being at the lower end of the socio-economic scale somehow makes you hate people who are a different colour from you. I think education must play a part. I mean, there's clearly a correlation between the less educated people, and given the improvements to education in this country over recent years, you're more likely to be older as well. So older, less educated people would once have been the focus of a conversation like this, but I'm afraid that thesis is losing power every day. When you see people who are neither old nor undereducated or poorly educated coming around to the point of view that black people are not English or black people are inferior. I mean, debates about it on, podcasts and grown-up programs. It's nuts. You don't have a debate about that any more than you have a debate about whether women can be pilots. It's insane. But it used to be normal, and it's becoming normal again. What do they get out of it? And listen, let me have a quick look in the old inbox. Here's one. This is from Ian. So Ian could give us a ring and tell us what he gets out of being racist. Buckle up, kids. It's time for a few hours of the James, if you don't agree with me, you're a racist, poorly educated, right-wing fascist O'Brien show. I flipping hate fascism. It's terrible, Ian. But, how dare you conflate poor education with ignorance and racism? Because poor education is something that's done to you, of course. It's not something that you're born with, like skin colour. But Ian isn't going to ring me, I don't think, and tell me what he gets out of being fascist or racist. Because I don't know that he knows. All he knows is that he's listening to this radio programme and he's hearing a description of himself. This is a great curse of our success in recent years, is that we hold up a mirror and an awful lot of people really, really hate what they see. And what is the trade-off? Because at the moment, Ian, you're feeling awful. You're feeling like, all dirty and ashamed. God, he means me. I'm the kind of person that uses the N-word to describe English football players when they miss a penalty. I hate that. Oh, dear. It's terrible. I know what I'll do. I'll attack him. I'll attack James. I'll send him a message calling him names. What's the positive? So that's the negative. I can see how bad you feel at a moment like this. But when you're shouting N-word at the telly, what's the positive? What's the good feeling that you get, Ian? 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. And speaking of mirrors, it was interesting what Gary said about water off a duck's back. And obviously, I'm never going to be a potential personal target of classic racism or traditional racism or possibly any form of racism. But a caller earlier this week alluded to some of the craziness that is sometimes flung in my direction online. And there was one this week that I felt I might bring to your attention because the person that was doing it was sort of adjacent to my own profession, a former fashion editor of the Jewish Chronicle, taking to Facebook to write absolutely shameless and egregious lies about me, which could be proven to be lies simply by listening to the show we did earlier this week about the situation in the Middle East. But I haven't yet decided whether or not I'm going to draw that to your attention in full. Because I like Gary, I just wonder, should you let all this stuff wash over you? Or should you occasionally stand up and say, you, madam, are a shameless liar? Why on earth? Because you tagged me. And you tagged the radio station, which kind of makes it public. But I don't know. It's not often I find myself having this internal conversation, and now, of course, with you, an external conversation. But it was because of the Rent Boy conspiracy theory with Keir Starmer that it just set me off thinking, do we need to stand up to this more, even on a personal level? I don't mean the people on social media who've given up trying to argue with any of the points that I made by accusing me of living in a gated community or being drunk all the time or being smelly or whatever else it is. You see a point. Here's James O'Brien explaining things that make me feel stupid. I know. I'll call him I'll call him smelly, or I'll call him an alcoholic, or I'll call him ugly. There you go. That'll teach him. That proves that his points are all right. So I don't mean those people. I can't help them. But I mean people who sort of claim to be journalists or profess to be professionals, when they start lying about you explicitly on public platforms, is it something that we should start being a little bit... I don't know. Do you give them more oxygen by highlighting their ludicrous lies? And this woman was claiming that my attitude to the murder of innocent Palestinian people was a consequence of going to the London School of Economics in the early 1990s. I mean, you sort of think, how boiled must your brain be? Not only to tell egregious and shameless lies about somebody whose words are literally available on the Global Player, as well as the LBC app, and every day, weekday from 10 on LBC. But I'm going to go on Facebook and tell egregious and shameless lies about you, even though they're so easily checkable. I don't know whether or not we should be doing more about that, but I'll probably decide by 12 o'clock today. Much more importantly, we are looking at the question of what you get out of it. So I think I know what she gets out of attacking me on social media. I think she gets to cling to the notion that Benjamin Netanyahu hasn't betrayed everybody, whether you're a supporter of Israel or a tireless critic of Israel, by prioritising his own self-interest over everything. I think she gets to pretend that anybody who thought Donald Trump would be acting in the interests of anybody other than himself is being vindicated and validated. All the people being proved right about what's happened in Iran must be dodgy because I'm one of the people being proved horribly. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But the question of what a racist gets out of being racist is one that I've got a funny feeling we're going to return to again and again and again in the future. Right, special prize for anyone who knows what Keith just said in my ear. Yeah, well done, everybody. It's time for a hydration break.
James O'Brien on LBC.
It's after 11 and you are listening to James O'Brien on LBC, where we are inevitably, as Thomas Tuchel told us we would have to, turning our attention already as the champagne is still fizzing in our metaphorical glasses after yesterday's brilliant victory for England. Two of the three goal scorers, 2 of the 4 goals scored by black Englishmen, and that boils the blood of many so-called patriots who have louder voices today than they have had for years. And we're trying to work out what they get in return, what they get out of it. The kind of people who normally populate Idiot's Corner on this programme, what do they get out of it? What's the trade-off? What's the kickback? Because we know what the famous ones get. And we know now what some of the ones who aren't even famous, but they got big followings on social media. They get clout, and now, thanks to Elon Musk, they get money. But what do the ordinary ones get? The ones shouting the N-word at the telly in the pub, even though their mixed-race friends is sitting behind them. Kevin's in Brentford, God's own country. Kevin, what would you like to say?
James, good to talk to you.
Likewise.
Very quickly, I'd like to just relay an anecdote. I used to run a football team in West London, and we used to play at very high level in the amateur leagues on Sunday. And we were playing it in Richardson Evans, which is off the Kingston bypass, near the Robin Hood roundabout.
Right.
Changing rooms were shared, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got there early, my team predominantly African, Caribbean, black guys, one white, 1 or 2 white guys.
Yeah.
And we were nice and early in the changing room, and then the opposition turned up. And within sort of teams, there's always a hierarchy of who's got the biggest mouth. Men, it's a banter thing, all right? Yeah. So the opposition turn up. Is mouth
a euphemism here, or do we mean you mean as in who's got the loudest voice, as it were?
Who's got the loudest voice, and who's the leader? Who is the leader? Yeah. Who's the wolf in the pecking order? the alpha.
Yeah.
Okay. So the opposition turn up, and we're in there on our side of the changing room getting changed.
Yeah.
And the words that echoed in the changing room were, "Oi, oi, lads, mind your wallets."
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
I know what that meant. All of my guys knew what that meant, and all of the guys who were on the opposition knew what that meant. The game took place, okay?
I hope you won.
And we won, and things transpired on the halfway line when everything was down the opposite end. Right. And I'll say no more about that.
Okay.
But that moment was a trump card for that guy in his little group to be able to say, well, we have got a bit of power here.
So it's coded, but everybody knows what that's. It's a dog whistle.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be coded.
No,
that was you get a micro, and your macro stuff going on.
Yeah,
and in that instant, it was a bit low key, but we all knew, and they knew, because it was a reference to all these guys are going to nick your stuff.
Of course it was. Right? And what did he get out of that?
He got a fat lip. But not in the changing room during the course of the game. During the course of the game.
I didn't mean that.
No.
Well, you know I didn't mean that, but I love you. You've got comic timing to die for. But what in terms of what the good feeling he got? What did he get?
It was that momentary triumph in front of his peers where he was top dog. And there is a very, very famous anecdote about Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder trading epithets.
Yeah.
And it goes on for a while. He's a this, you're a that.
Yeah.
You're a this, you're a that. Until ultimately, Gene Wilder uses the alpha epithet, the N-word.
Right.
And everything stopped. There was nothing else that could be said because
I don't know
Europeans, white people, English-speaking world and others, they know in that context, nothing can trump that little moment of power if you deploy such language.
Because it's loaded.
It's the ultimate power.
Because it conjures up centuries of oppression and supremacism. Even people who wouldn't be able to tell you the date of anything know that they can feel its power even if they don't understand it and could never articulate it. They know it's a trump card even though they don't really know the rules of the game. Yes.
And you, on the receiving end of that, know that is ultimately what will always come into play at some point, because the dominant cultural ideology for the past 500-600 years has been European, and embedded within that has been the discourse, the institution, etc., of a racial hierarchy.
And if you love racial hierarchies, you're currently dedicating all of your energy to pretending that the police are anti-white and that diversity, equality and inclusion initiatives are somehow a bad thing.
Yes.
Because you can feel it beginning to slip away, and now the direction of traffic is in the favour of the people who love the racial hierarchy, who need it.
And the people who are deploying this stuff, they would have been the ones who would have been laughing on the side of that guy in the changing room back in the day.
Yeah.
Or they would have been, their parents may well have been, the ones who would have gone pea-bashing at weekends in West London as part of the Chelsea Shed Boy era, okay? Because that was part of the discourse as well. So it's deeply embedded. It ebbs and flows. We're in a prime cycle now where it's everywhere. And it's not being put down by the major power brokers on the other side of the Atlantic. They're espousing it as well. So we're in big trouble at the moment.
Did you ever relax a bit in recent years? Did you ever think things... Because Tony Benn said a wonderful thing that I didn't really understand at the time about no victories ever being permanent. And I think it was when they repealed Roe versus Wade in the United States of America that I finally understood what he meant. You know, I grew up thinking that women having bodily autonomy and access to abortion was now the normal. That's it now. That victory is won forever. And then suddenly it was snatched away again. Did you ever relax and think things had got better for good?
No, because what you have is this... It's always been an underlying factor. The misogyny has always been an underlying factor. It plays its part in the power broking game. So if we're playing trumps, ultimately you get put down if you're female, you can get put down if you're black. And you have this, it's very strange, but the English do it in a particular way because, and I'm sure the Americans do it as well, but I don't know that, the footballers, it's a very, very, it's hurtful. It's so powerful that I've been prompted to call your show. I listen a lot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm very impressed with the discourses that you have. But this is kind of like up my street.
It really is, isn't it?
And I am mixed race. I'm approaching 70. And it's been a major part of my life's discourse since day dot. And I won't go into all of that. But
I understand.
70 years on, it's still there. Front page news, metaphorically.
Yeah, I mean, it did seem to be in retreat, though, Kevin. didn't it? I mean, some of the initiatives worked. There would have been changing rooms in which nobody would have dared to say those things because, and then everyone started going, oh, political correctness is out of control, or everyone's so woke, and then lo and behold, we're back where we were.
Yes. So it's been the fight now is being fought in a slightly different way. It's not in your face. It's behind your back.
Yes.
It's not fake. You know, the guys were brave to come in the changing room and do that back in the day, but they don't need to now. They can do that in all sorts of other ways, and they wouldn't dare do that to my face at my front door, or in my neighbourhood, or your neighbourhood, or in West London, etc., unless
we're in the same neighbourhood.
But you know,
we are.
Yes.
I live in Brentford.
I guess we're West London.
I live in Brentford. Do you not live in Brentford? Are you just passing through?
No. My family are from West London.
Okay.
And my mother's side, we're from Feltham, and I could tell you a few stories about Feltham and what it was like back in the day.
Pops up a lot in these conversations, doesn't it?
Feltham and Fulham.
Yeah.
Working class neighbourhoods that were pretty
hairy for people like you.
Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and have much improved, and so we can't deny the optimism. And as I say, I'm mixed race, and there are multitudes of mixed race folk out there now. So we shouldn't really be having this discourse.
I know we shouldn't, but we have to, right?
And why does it raise its head, James? Why does it keep doing that? It's primarily because...
Careful, there's a by-election today. You can't mention any politicians.
No. Okay. Nothing to do with political figures of today. It's power.
Yeah.
And power is being shared, and people don't like it being shared. So the Americans didn't like power being shared when they put a black man in the White House.
No, they didn't.
Right? Yeah. And we're facing the repercussions of that today, the fallout, shall we, the flack from that. And we have the same problem here. They don't like seeing a brown face leading the Tories, etc. A deputy prime minister in question, prime minister's questions, talking about whatever. That status, it's reserved. It's reserved for people who look like us, who look European, who look white. In the grand scheme of their plan, they've never accepted that these differences are here and are here to stay, unless we go back to the discourse of 1930s Germany.
And the desperate need to...
we can't go back there. We can't. It won't happen. It won't happen in America that we'll go back to Jim Crow and plantations and everybody knowing their place. It's not going to happen. But there's been this underbelly of resentment that's there, and there's an opportunity now.
And that's what it is, isn't it? It's always about opportunity and always about making things worse for absolutely everybody except the opportunists. And because I don't think the people shouting N-word at the television are having their lives improved by being allowed to do that again in a pub.
Momentarily, it's giving them a kick, isn't it?
I guess so.
And what we've got happening now, it kind of mirrors some of the stuff that went on back in the day. Back in the day when people in the States used to circulate postcards of lynching victims, widely publicised, in the 20s and before that, okay? What we've got now is this opportunity where we can send postcards, metaphorically, of what we don't like about these dark-skinned folk.
That's a really good point.
And, it's there.
I don't like the fact they're in an England shirt. I don't like the fact they're in an England shirt, but I can't say that until they miss a penalty. I can't. Well, I can.
And bottom line of the discourse, James, is that we sing Rule Britannia.
Yeah.
Okay? And Britons never, never, never shall be. So there is this inherent part of the nationalist discourse. It's we are better than them.
I never spotted that.
And which is why I could never sing certain national songs on behalf of the nation, since I grew up as a boy and I sang with gusto the songs I sang, the national anthem and all that, but not since I had one iota of sense as a late teenager.
Have you started understanding it? I
started to understand that this was not about me. It's not me. It's about preserving that degree of power. And that's just another part of that same conversation. Oi, oi, lads, mind your wallets, and the stuff going on online where they can send postcards.
Yeah.
Horrible, vile, terrible postcards about other human beings. And then, and there we go. And then we've got to sing Rule Britannia.
Britain's never shall.
And I'll put this in as a last point.
Go on.
The young men who sing the national anthem when lined up, you take a good look and look who's singing. Some sing, some mumble, some don't say anything, because some of them are in families where there is this discourse. And the discourse is that, well, we were so vilely, terribly treated by these people who sang this song 200 years ago or 100 years ago. And I know if I were one of those players out there, I would be proud to go and put the shirt on and stand there, but I'm not singing because I know that part of that discourse is it's never been analysed, it's never been unpicked properly and moved on. The Marseillaise, the French national anthem, is great. The Welsh national anthem, I would sing with gusto, love it. But the English one, which we hold on to dearly, is another It's another part of the discourse. And the discourse is so huge. Though.
Yeah, and that's why people are so desperate to shut it down, Kevin. That's why they don't want people to be taught about history. You don't need to read Satnam Sangira's work to know about the realities of empire and the realities of colonialism. But I don't feel any guilt about that as a white person because it had nothing to do with me. But I want to understand it and I want to know it. And if I don't understand it and I don't know it, then I'm not going to stop the impulses that you've just described in absolutely hair-raising.
Yeah, we need the conversation needs to be had, and it's not your fault. It's not my mother's fault. My mother's family's fault, who are white from West London, right?
Sure,
it's not their fault.
No, of course it's
we need to have the discourse. The conversation needs to take
because
place.
That line there, I don't know whether I should apologise for not having spotted that before. Britons never ever shall be slaves. What does that say to black Britons? It says you're not British. Doesn't it? It says you're not British.
And brown Britons, because
black people were
enslaved as well. You see,
yes, of course,
etc.
Of course.
So it says you're not part of this. When they reach a point where you can't be acceptable, and it's sad, but it's part of our discourse as human beings, and it will take multi-generations, James, for us to get to the point where there's a solution.
It will, but you've got to keep moving forward. You've got to keep moving.
Your great-grandparents and my great-grandparents probably couldn't read.
Yeah.
We can read now, etc., etc. So, this discourse is taking place slowly. It's evolving, but it's multi-generational, and probably my children and my grandchildren have this conversation daily, weekly, whenever it raises its head.
Sure.
Maybe in 50, 60 years, it won't be such a major issue.
Maybe.
But the struggle continues, James,
Indeed,
and education is the key. And I'll end it on that.
Well, and the other conversation we were thinking about having today was about role models. You are one, Kevin. I hope you don't mind me saying that. 33 minutes after 11, you've educated me, and you know me, I think I know it all. Here's Dominic Ellis with your headlines.
James O'Brien on LBC.
Okay, at 36 minutes after 11, I don't know if this is a mark of neurodiversity, but you know how my brain works sometimes. I thought that Kylo, referencing his ADHD, was a lovely thing that people now feel that they can do in public in ways that perhaps once would have been a lot more stigmatised. But I've got this obsession with tying things together and knitting things together. Here is a crazy one, okay? You heard earlier about the black British man, the black English man, who returned to his mother's home island in the Caribbean. And remember that when we took over the Caribbean, we told all the people there they were English or British. And discovered when he was looking for the deeds to the land that his family owned, that in the 17th century, a lot of it had been owned by the Church of England, right? And that shouldn't have come as a major surprise to you, but it may have done, because of course the Church of England, like almost every English institution, was it Kevin who'd gone back to the Caribbean? I think it may have been, and every British institution, every English institution that existed then and still exists now will have made a ton of cash out of slavery, out of plantations. So you're holding that thought in your head during this bigger conversation. And then you get on to that incredible point about the lyrics of Rule Britannia and the recognition of the implicit white supremacism in the argument that if you're somebody who can be enslaved, i.e. a person of colour, then you are not British, because Britons never, never, never shall be slaves. So if you come from a lineage that was enslaved, then you can't be British. I had never spotted that before, but I'll tell you something for nothing. I'm never going to unspot it now. I'm never going to unspot it now. And then you come to my observation that this is why so many people are so keen to shut down discourse about Britain's colonial history or slavery or empire even, but because the reality not only makes racism so much easier to understand and therefore defuse, because racism was an absolutely crucial part of it, but it also robs people in the modern world of any rationale or justification for their own bigotries. Are you still with me? These things that you see the links? And then I get sent an unhinged headline. Literally, apropos nothing in particular that we have been discussing, just you saying to me, here's a bit of a doozy, James. And that unhinged headline, I think, cue the music.
Unhinged headline
is not inevitably, but unsurprisingly in the Daily Telegraph. And it is this. I voted Remain in 2016. The last 10 years have made me a convinced Brexiteer. So you think two things. You think, oh boy, and you think, who the hell wrote that? So you look at who wrote it, and it's a bloke called Nigel Biggar, and you remember, if you've got a brain like mine, that Nigel Biggar is one of the big voices that you phone up if you want somebody to, for example, attack or criticise the Church of England for setting aside compensation funds for the descendants of people that they profited from the enslavement of. So you see what I mean? It's extraordinary how so much of what's happening now has links and roots in so much of what happened before. And, I mean, like night follows day. Nigel Biggar was put in the House of Lords by Kemi Badenoch for his sterling work in telling us all why slavery was not something that we should be particularly interested in because everybody was at it, and you certainly shouldn't be, if you're the Church of England, acknowledging your very un-Christian behaviour 300 years ago by setting aside compensation funds for the territories that are still blighted and the people whose existences are still blighted by the legacy of all those years. And if you don't understand what the legacy of all those years of enslavement were, then look at the lyrics of Rule Britannia. Sometimes it just falls into your lap, doesn't it, this stuff? Roy's in Mile-End. Roy, what would you like to say?
Hello, morning, James.
Hello.
Great show as always. Great show.
Very kind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
What it is, James, I'm born at Mile-End, grew up in Mile-End, went to West Ham when Clyde Best was playing. So when I went there, I was about 7 first time. I just heard all these monkey chanting everywhere. I couldn't believe it. You know, the whole ground, monkey chanting,
yeah.
You know, to this man. And, you know, it's just, and ever since then, I've tried to engage with the West Ham people on the message boards, but it's full of racism all the time, you know? And you're saying, what you said, what do they get out of it?
Yeah.
I don't understand what they get out of it. I've tried to work it out all my life. I don't understand. You know, because recently I said, is it jealousy turning into envy, turning into hatred? Is that it? I don't understand, you know? I can't never feel like I want to put on the English top and say, come on, England. I never want to do that, unfortunately.
No, well, I can understand why if you've been exposed to that from such a young age. And yet,
yeah.
They wouldn't, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yeah.
I can't imagine you would ever watch Harry Kane miss a penalty and start screaming about how white he is.
Never.
And that's why we can't explain it, Roy, I think. That's why we can't understand it. I mean,
we can't explain it.
With some of the answers we've heard make sense, but they make intellectual sense, and maybe they make a little bit of emotional sense. But if you've never felt it, you will never feel it. It would be like you watching Harry Kane fluff the first penalty last night and start screaming about how bloody white he is.
That's right. And I think what it is, a few of your callers, they said something like, it's being fed the superiority, you're superior, you see?
Which is a great thing to do if you're not, isn't it? If you're, you know, if you're, I don't know, if you've got millions of pounds in the bank and you're worried about people beginning to wonder why, you tell that bloke over there who hasn't got a pot to pee in, you tell him he's superior. Was it Lyndon B. Johnson who said something about this? You just convince the white man that he's superior to the black man and he'll be in your pocket for the rest of his life. Yeah.
It's a very sad situation because I've got children now and I don't want them having to go through what I went through, you see?
Do you think they will?
Unfortunately, yes. But
did you think that 10 years ago? Did you think that 10 years ago?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
even though some people say to me, "Oh, do you think it's racism still?" Of course there is. There is. You know, and I'm mixed race, so I'm biased. You know, like a few of the callers.
Sure.
My mum's white woman, my dad's Jamaican, black. You know, so we've had to deal with this all the time, every day, minute in, minute out, hour in, hour out, all the time. And the team that I love, West Ham, unfortunately, I had to write a letter to them in about 1981 when I was about a 14-year-old, telling them about the NS, National Front, being around the ground. I've still got the letter.
Incredible, isn't it?
You know?
Just saying,
and now,
why are you letting them in?
Years down the line, it's still there. But it's like, you know, you got a father telling their kids or women watching TV, say, you know, and saying bad things all the time. It's going to just penetrate you, you know, and then you just carry on doing it.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And I guess I wanted to sort of tell you that. I mean, I want to tell you that you should be sort of proud to wear an England shirt, but that would just be patronising, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not at all. I'd rather be Brazil or somebody like that. You know, somebody I see is happy. They're not arrogant. They're just happy. They just play the game. They don't want to act like they're superior. And they've got a heavy shirt to wear. That is a heavy shirt.
It really is. And that's what Gareth Southgate and now Thomas Tuchel are doing such an amazing job of acknowledging and helping with and making the whole team help to carry that burden. But when push comes to shove, it will only be the black players that are being abused publicly and on social media. And that's such a sad thing that you say, Roy, and I just have to sit with it, don't I? I'm not going to try and talk you out of it or persuade you otherwise, but I hope
I really, really respect you, you know, James, how you address these things, and even though you get hated by the people who hate us, do you know what I'm saying? You know, they don't like you because you could articulate it very well.
You're very kind. And well, to that end, I should probably just reflect for a moment upon two of the things that you've raised, the kind of normalisation of this kind of hatred, and indeed the role that football forums play in it, because there is someone who I think still has columns in the Sun newspaper and the Spectator and the Sunday Times called Rod Liddell, probably best known for accepting a police caution for assaulting his pregnant girlfriend. #ProtectOurWomen, #SaveOurGirls. But he was also reported to have used a pseudonym Monkey MFC on the Millwall fan forums, in which he posted all sorts of derogatory comments. Inevitably, he claimed that some of the worst ones weren't actually posted by him, although quite how heavily that was looked into, I do not know. But he certainly made jokes about Auschwitz. There were derogatory comments about Somalis. There was misogynistic comments about Mary Nightingale, and there were sundry other racist comments as well, although whether he claimed to be hacked or came up with some other explanation, he denied writing one that suggested black people were less intelligent than white people. And of course that impacted not at all on his professional fortunes, on the payroll of various once august British newspapers. So, you know, you sit here, I sit here thinking, God, it's terrible, isn't it? The racism from football terraces in the 1970s or the racism from football forums in the 1980s has now leached into the mainstream. And then you remember that people like Liddell have been sliming around the mainstream for their entire lives.
James O'Brien on LBC.
We've got a genuine unhinged headline for you. Hopefully we'll have time to squeeze it in before Mystery Hour is upon us. If you're just tuning in, you should know that we've launched another feature, Mystic Jim. I've predicted, which means it will now come true, otherwise the whole feature will fall apart, that by February 2027 I will actually have been provided with some production to accompany my new feature, which is when a headline confirms a prediction that I made some weeks or months ago. In this case, it involves Donald Trump and the claim that he has signed a magnificent deal, which is a claim being made pretty much exclusively by Donald Trump. Let's see if we can cut through some of the noise with our good friend Phillips O'Brien, the Professor of Strategic Studies at the University of St Andrews and the author of War and Power. Phillips, good morning.
How are you doing, James?
I'm all good. Where do you want to start? Which side, which end of the telescope?
Well,
what does it mean for Iran?
It was a magnificent deal. It was a magnificent deal. It is a magnificent deal for Iran.
Yeah.
That the Iranians basically got everything they could have possibly wanted out of this deal and gave up, from what we can tell, nothing. And that this was after the United States started a war of choice. This war didn't have to happen. It was chosen by the United States and started by the United States on February 28th. And here we are a few months later, and the United States has lost the war, and Iran has gotten a great series of terms to end it. So that's where we are.
Are they in an even stronger position than they were under the terms of the agreement that was negotiated by Barack Obama's administration?
Oh, I would say, yeah. In certain ways, they are in a much stronger position than under the JCPOA. One, now the Iranians seem to have the chance to control shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. That the agreement with Trump does not rule out the possibility of the Iranians and Omanis charging tolls in the future. And that wasn't even being discussed back in 2016. Plus, the Iranians seem to be offered a $300 billion reparations package, is all we can cover it, for the damage that was done to them, which means they should get a huge influx of capital to rebuild themselves after this war, which again is important. They're also getting things they never had back then. The MOU says the United States will withdraw forces from the proximity of Iran. So the United States is promising to demilitarize at least some area close to Iran. None of that was being discussed in any detail under the JCPOA. So there are a lot of really strong strategic advantages for Iran now compared to back under the Obama one. And they've given up nothing on the nuclear deal. And that's the thing. Trump didn't get anything new on the nuclear deal. If anything, it's gotten worse under the nuclear deal for the United States, because really all the Iranians have done is restated their longstanding public position, which is they do not want nuclear weapons, but that's just a statement. It's not enforceable. And it's not clear the United States is going to get any extra information out of them.
In some ways, obviously deaths and casualties aside, the people I feel sorriest for are the people who believed that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu were interested in getting rid of the murderous and vile Iranian regime. The people, I mean, the analogy we used, and looking back it may have been a little bit clumsy, but the analogy we used was that if your house was on fire and your family was inside and the only person prepared to go in and get them was, let us say, a rapist, just thinking of the worst imaginable crime that we can, then you would want them to do it. You'd trust them to do it because there was nobody else there. And so Iranian people trusting Trump and Netanyahu, or hoping that Trump and Netanyahu, I feel very sorry for them today.
Well, I mean, the Iranian people are the people who have suffered the most throughout this whole thing. They had to undergo a false promise by Trump that he would help them rise up. None of that's true. By the way, the Iranian
It was never true. It was never true.
There was never any intention or Trump wanting to have a free Iran. In fact, he wanted to have a continuation of the old regime with just different faces, from what we could tell. And the present Iranian regime is now very tragically executing some people who did protest. And so that Trump's promise was completely hollow. Then the Iranian people had to endure 6 weeks of bombing, and now they're going to be ruled by an empowered and stronger oppressive regime.
You preempted my next question. They're stronger now. I mean, they've come out with a better deal, but they're domestically stronger as well.
Well, it's hard to see. The United States and Israel have no influence now over Iran in any way, so it's hard to see what will happen to change the regime structure. So the outside influence over Iran to try and change things has gone down. The United States is pulling back. the Iranian regime is going to get a lot of money. And by the way, sanctions are over. If you read the memorandum, the basic sanctions are going to end very soon.
So they got every single thing they asked for, and that's a reflection of Trump finally realising that none of the things he thought were going to happen, whether because Benjamin Netanyahu gulled him into believing that they would, or because he was a little bit more deranged than usual, or whatever the reason may be. Trump, with the midterms looming, he realised he was never, ever, ever going to get any victory here, so he would give Iran every single thing that it asked for and then just do a lap of honour and claim that he'd scored, let me read you the headline, total victory with Iran deal. I mean, is it that simple?
Yeah. I mean, it's as much as
we don't need bloody professors. We don't need professors of strategic studies, do we, if it's this simple?
Yeah. No, I mean, he started the war thinking he'd get rid of the regime and declare victory and have a great success and probably get a big payoff. That's always part of the consideration.
So
and he couldn't get rid of the regime.
$300 billion. The nuclear scenario is exactly as it was before, if not slightly worse, because they've kind of acknowledged there's nothing they can do about it. The Strait of Hormuz has been elevated to a leverage status that it didn't enjoy previously. And the Iranian regime has not only not been replaced, it's actually been enhanced and empowered. Will any of this affect Trump? As he struts around like the proverbial pigeon playing chess, as he struts around the board pooping and pretending that he won, will any of it land with American voters?
Well, it won't help him. I mean, he's got his core. His core is going to follow him to the gates of hell because they simply are Trump. They've identified with Trump. These are the people who said they were really opposed to a war for Iran in January. Then Trump decides to bomb Iran in February, and they all changed. So that core is not going anywhere for him. He's got them. That might be 50 to 60% of the Republican Party, 20 to 30% of the country.
Wow.
However, this was a really unpopular war, and it hurt the Republicans when it came to the affordability question because the price of oil went up. It also is embarrassing. So for some of those who are persuadable, and we can't assume that's a large percentage, but there has to be some, this will not help. And it will certainly, I think, empower or enrage anti-Trump voters. So it's not going to make the difference in the election and changing it, but it might shade it a little bit more towards the Democrats.
And with what we currently know, when historians of the quite near future come to chronicle this extraordinary chapter in US history and Middle Eastern relations, will it be the Marco Rubio narrative, albeit that he subsequently abandoned it, that prevails, that Benjamin Netanyahu has sought to persuade every US president back to Lincoln practically to invade Iran, and they could all see that it would be an absolutely idiotic thing to do, but Trump fell for it, and then very, very quickly everybody realised why no one had ever done it before?
Well, you see, Rubio's in many ways getting off far easier than he should.
Yeah.
That Vance is the one carrying the can. Now, look, I'm no Vance fan, as you know, but Vance was actually opposed to the war in February. He didn't want to start it. He was the skeptic, and Rubio was the big supporter of the war. Now, what seems to happen is Trump was angry at Vance for not being loyal, so he's given Vance the crappy job of negotiating the end of the deal.
He's pinned the deal on Vance, which is pure Trump. So he's simultaneously pretending that it's a brilliant deal, but of course, when people start criticising it, if that gains enough traction, it's all going to be J.D. Vance's fault.
And indeed, a lot of Trump supporters are calling it the Vance deal. I mean, that's their ultimate, that's their cowardice.
Yeah.
Because they can't criticize Trump. So these are people like Lindsey Graham and Mark Thiessen, who are well known in America. And they're just Trumpites to the core. But they were all in favor of this bombing. And now that it's gone to this point, they say this is Vance's deal. And they're putting the onus on Vance, whereas Rubio's just staying quiet. But he was, from what we can tell, a really strong supporter of starting this war.
And there it is. Trump claims total victory with Iran deal, whereas in fact, final question, could it have gone any worse? I mean, from Iran's point of view, could they have got anything else? Is there anything on their wish list that they haven't received?
Not real. I mean, we'll have to see how it goes with, do the sanctions actually get ended as quickly? Do the
but as in what's in black and white at the moment? No. Let's literally, their wish list has been completely met.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they could have did not wanting an IAEA mention in the text, but we're talking they got 99% of what they wanted.
Well done. The art of the deal, eh? I've never said this before, but I thank you for the series you did with Tom Hanks. That was absolutely brilliant. I loved that. Has it changed your life? Do people stop you in the street now and go, "Hey, you're Phillips O'Brien. You're James's uncle." But also, you were in that thing. He's not my uncle. We've never actually met in the flesh. But you did the World War II series with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun to do, I have to say. So it's one of those that's the kind of thing people watch. You know,
so you're slumming it when you come on with us. You're slumming it. You're dating down. So we're very grateful.
Yeah, I'm meeting Tom for a coffee right after this, and I'll pass it on.
Give him our love, won't you? Thank you. Phillips O'Brien, the Professor of Strategic Studies, showbiz superstar, and author of War and Power at, of course, St Andrews University. There it is. I mean, God, if we had a jingle for Mystic Jim, we'd have overused it today, wouldn't we? But I just told you. And, I mean, so many people who I feel sorry for. I mean, supporters of Israel, not of Netanyahu, because I think you're beyond sympathy now, given what you have sanctioned and facilitated and even cheered. But supporters of Israel, in which number I count myself, who thought that Benjamin Netanyahu was going to be anything other than disastrous for the people of Iran. Well done, everybody. Supporters of Donald Trump, who thought that Benjamin Netanyahu or Donald Trump were going to be anything other than disastrous for the people of Iran. Well done, everybody. And, of course, people who felt that the people of Iran were going to come out of this better off than they went into it. They're still under the jackboot of a hideous, murderous regime who have been strengthened by the actions of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. Well done, everybody.
James O'Brien on LBC.
4 calls. And I didn't mention it was mystery hour. I haven't mentioned it since 10 o'clock this morning. I'd like to pretend that was a thought experiment to see whether or not it is so baked into your consciousness that you know 12 o'clock on a Thursday means mystery hour. But I can't pretend that because you'd see through it in a heartbeat. I just forgot, even though Keith said it in my ears on at least 3 occasions. Anyway, in case you haven't worked it out for yourself yet, it's Mystery Hour, your weekly opportunity to achieve the sort of satisfaction that's not available anywhere else on your radio. Here is the deal. You ring in with a question, a mystery, a riddle, a conundrum that needs solving, and then someone else rings in with the answer. That's it. That's the tweet. That's the game. That's the miracle of modern radio that has spawned 2 board games, countless listeners, and an entire archive of podcasts available at the Global Player or indeed the LBC app. There's a little bit more business I need to attend to. If you make my favourite submission of the week... Did you turn the volume up again then? Like you did last... No, was that normal? If you make my favourite submission of the week, you win a Mystery Hour game. And there are now 2 Mystery Hour games. Not 1, count them, but 2. 1, 2. And one of them is a board game, and one of them is a travel edition, a travel game. They're different games. I am told by people who have both that that having both is a good thing. I have both, but you wouldn't believe me if I told you. So if you've already got the board game, rather than issue a second bunch of questions to play the board game with, we issued an entirely new game in a tin. But you can use the cards from the second game to extend the life of the first game, while also using them as a game in and of themselves. The only difference is that with the travel edition, you don't have to make up any sort of bluff answers yourself. We provide 2 wrong answers and a right answer. Whereas on the board game, we provide 1 right answer and a wrong answer, and then extra points, the real jackpots, can be scored by coming up with a really plausible answer to the question but it's a false answer, and the more people that guess your answer as the correct answer, the more... anyway... You can find out more at mysteryhour.co.uk, all right? And indeed, you can find out the full terms and conditions for this proper grown-up, mature radio competition at lbc.co.uk. Is that it? Have I done all the housework? Is that all the rubric? I think it is. I usually guarantee 1 laugh-out-loud moment between now and 1 o'clock, but, I mean, that's become so commonplace now, so expected, so normal. I don't really need to issue the guarantee anymore. And I would just remind you, we can't go anywhere near politics because there is a... can I say that word out loud? A thing. There's a thing going on in the place. places. There's things in places. There's the thing in the place and the other place and also but the other place. So we can't talk about politics at all. The only time I've ever had an Ofcom complaint upheld, no, I'm not even going to tell you about that either. Just shut up. Serious, actually, shut up now. Thank you. 9 minutes after 12 is the time. Tony's in Carterton in Oxfordshire. Tony, question or answer?
Question, please, James.
Carry on, Tony.
I was lucky enough to marry my partner last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We received plenty of bottles of Prosecco and champagne.
Champagne off the people that really like you.
Yes, yeah, true. They were sat near us. So early this year, I opened up a bottle, poured my wife a glass, and I don't have a bottle stopper. So what I did, I popped a teaspoon in the neck of the bottle in the belief that it keeps the fizziness in the drink for longer. So I'd like to ask if this is true, and if I could put a cheeky second part to it. If it is true, then how does it work?
That's not cheeky, because if it was true, someone would have to explain how it worked. I don't think it is. I don't think it is true. It's a bit of a sort of urban myth or something that I think.
Okay, you have heard of this before.
Yeah, I've tested it myself. I've done it myself because there's quite a lot of technology attached to wine. Not so much the champagne, because you just need to stick a stopper in a champagne bottle and hope for the best. But some of the wine technology involves sucking the air out even after you've opened it. You sort of put the cork back in, but you suck all of the air out so nothing inside can oxidise. And that means that quite an expensive wine won't turn, it won't go off. But I mean, it sounds odd, but I did this myself.
Okay.
And it doesn't work.
Champagne,
It didn't. Yeah, it doesn't. So if you've got a flat bottle that's open, rather you've got two bottles that are open. You put a spoon in one of them and come back the next day. You won't be able to tell the difference between them.
Oh, okay.
Qualifications. I have actually done it. And I did it after our 25th wedding anniversary when there were a few bottles left open. And I thought, why not have a go and see whether it's true or not. I'm not taking a round of applause, Tony, because that is only one experiment and the plural of anecdote is not data. But I can't think of the science that would explain it. Can you?
Yeah, no, me. I mean, I've worked in hospitality in the past for a long time, and we've always had a hunch that it does have that effect.
I don't think
but maybe...
I'm putting it on the list. Do you know who Tom Gilby is? Do you know who Tom Gilby is?
I do not.
Because Jeff just texted me to say, it's a lie. I watched The Floppy-Haired Wine Man. And I'm pretty sure he's talking about Tom Gilby, who is the floppy-haired wine man, but also an old mate of mine from school who I haven't seen since 1990, would you believe? But he now pops up all over my algorithms, being extremely foul-mouthed, potty-mouthed, but utterly charming, and possessed of ludicrous long locks that I almost take as a personal insult, considering the state of my barnet. And he apparently has done the experiment and proved that there's no truth in it whatsoever. But I'm not, again, that's an anecdote. I haven't got proof of it, so I'm leaving it on the board. How's married life treating you?
Very good, thank you. So she's off to Ascot today. So
very nice.
Come back with some winnings.
Well, and she'll be drinking plenty of champagne. Keep you in the style that you deserve to become accustomed to. Tony, thank you. It's on the board, but as I say, I don't think it's true, but I'm not going to go definitive on it myself. James is in Leeds. James, question or answer? James!
Hello, James. It's a question.
What are you doing? What happened then? What happened then? I was sitting here for ages waiting for you.
Hello?
Hello? I think we may have a slight delay on the line, which means I probably shouldn't have made jokes about it. Can we come back to James in Leeds? But it doesn't matter because I've got another James. This one's in Manchester. James in Manchester.
James,
hello, James.
You're right.
I don't know what happened to James there, James.
Strange.
It is?
Yeah.
Question or answer?
Question.
Go on.
Why do we have wine glasses and why do we have champagne flutes for champagne?
It's all gone a bit boozy this week, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Is it because I pointed out that if you are following my clips on social media and terrified of the fact that you can't argue with a single point I made, it's become very popular lately to claim that I'm drunk? Is that what's happening here? I think it must be.
I think with the football last night, I mean, I had a couple of beers.
Fair enough.
But I didn't have any clean beer glasses, so I had to use a wine glass. But I thought, I'm using the wrong glasses.
But some Belgian beers are served in glasses that are closer to a wine glass than a pint pot, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
There's one Belgian beer, I can't remember what it's called, and you can't put the glass down. It's served almost in a bowl, that would tip over if you put it down as well. So they serve it in a sort of cradle almost as well.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember the name of that one.
And then one fancy pants I know insists that champagne is nicer in those kind of coupes, the sort of wide, flat ones rather than the flutes.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember as well going to Oktoberfest back in the day, and the waitresses carrying 20 steins on an arm, which obviously were practical and great for beer.
Yes, no, they are practical. So, I mean, red wine, big glass, white wine, small glass.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of little things there. So why...
But also having a stem as well. Like, why does it have to be raised?
Well, that, I think, is less important on red wine than white wine. But with white wine, you want to keep it cool. So you hold it by the stem, and then your body heat doesn't leach into the glass from your sweaty palms, James.
Fair enough.
From your sweaty palms. So, I mean, it might be another one that actually doesn't have much root in science and is mostly down to etiquette and things like that. But why do we have specific glasses for specific drinks?
That's the one.
I like it. 12:15 is the time. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. I toyed with the idea, of trying to theme Mystery Hour. Trying to make it. We did it one Christmas, and my producer at the time went out and got me a Father Christmas costume. And he'd gone to such efforts to get it that I felt I had to wear it. Those were the days. I mean, seriously, I just said in passing, it's about 10 years ago, hey, we could do a Christmas Mystery Hour. And he came to work the next day. He'd been into Angel and Berman's, the big costume outfitters who do all the big West End shows. He came in with an absolutely brilliant Father Christmas costume. Sadly, I think it was in the days before everything we do on the show goes viral. But I did the show in a full Father Christmas. So listen to that, Keith. I asked for it on a Tuesday. I got it on a Thursday. Asked for it on a Wednesday. I got it. I know he doesn't work here anymore. He's a lifeboat man now down in Kent, as well as a brilliant political journalist for the BBC. But those were the days when I said on air, that might be fun. And the next thing you know, it had happened. Anyway, roll on February 2027 when I get a jingle for the new Mystic Gym feature.
James O'Brien on LBC.
I think it's a very subjective comedy moment. So I've got loads of messages that just say quack. So I was going to say to you, this is very odd. I think there's a lot of ducks listening to the programme because I've got about 30 text messages that just say quack. Some say my name, some say Quack James, and the rest just say quack. Spelt a bit oddly. It's not spelt with a Q, but you know what spelling's like in this country these days. Spelt K-W-A-K. it's gone up now. I've got about 50 messages that just say quack. So I start thinking in my head, there must be a lot of ducks listening to the show. Because they're all saying quack. I think that's really funny. I mean, really funny. I'm not obviously rolling around on the floor of the studio, but loads of people are sending me the word quack, and I'm thinking, there must be lots of ducks listening. I just think that's really funny. And the reason they're sending me the word quack is because that's the name of the German beer, the Belgian beer that I'd forgotten the name of, that is served in a glass that falls over. A glass that you can't rest on presumably because you're supposed to drink it while it's really fresh or something like that, or I don't know. But anyway, you can't... quack. I tell you what, Keith. Hey, Keith. Must be loads of ducks listening today. Have a look at the inbox, mate. I said it was subjective, didn't I? 19 minutes after 12 is the time. James is in Leeds. James, question or answer?
Oh, quack, James. It's a question.
Go on, then.
It's about lifts.
Oh,
now,
yes.
You go in a lift, you press the floor, and then you press the closed doors button. You know, the two arrows pointing inwards?
Yeah.
In the UK, and also I know in France, they don't work. The doors don't close.
They do.
Well,
Ours does. The one here does.
Right.
Doesn't it?
Go to Thailand.
Why?
Go to Thailand, because when you're in Thailand, you press the button and they close immediately.
Have
Same
your
in
arm
Vietnam.
off. Have your arm off. Is this true? Eleanor's nodding sagely. Why are you nodding sagely? You've never been to Vietnam. You've been to Thailand, have you?
He went to Thailand.
Yeah, all right.
There you go.
Really?
No lie. They just close. You press the button and they close. And here, I don't think they close any earlier than they would have done because you pressed on the floor.
So it could be a fluke. So they could be about to close anyway, and then you press it and they close, and you think the button's working.
I don't know.
Correct.
I don't know. I wonder if there's an override. I wonder if there's an override. You know, if it could be that they can set it so they close immediately.
There must be, yeah. So they must have decided it. I mean, it's a shame that you asked this question today, because not that long ago we had the lift engineers in, And there was a kid at my school, I've talked about him before, and he used to, at morning break, he used to go to the school laundry and just watch the washing machines. He found it really, really soothing. And I kind of turned into him a bit when the lift engineers were here. I just used to sort of hang around watching, because you can look up and look down, and there's light. You know, there's lights in lift shafts, obviously, because they're not needed very often. But when these four great lads, they were very patient with me, and they explained things to me and showed me stuff. I felt about 8 years old watching that. I love lifts, and I could have asked them, couldn't I? But I can't now because they've finished. They've done all their work. I'll find out for you. And
please do.
Also, we could make a map. We could do every country in the world, couldn't we? What's Democratic Republic of Congo? What happens in the lifts? We could go through all the World Cup teams, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah. Anyway, why? I
thought you could out more.
I'll do my best for you, James. There we go. That's the first non-booze question. So we've had 2 booze questions and 2 Jameses so far, 3 if you include me. Martin is in Epping. Martin, question or answer?
It's a question.
Carry on, Martin.
Why do fishermen dress up in camouflage gear? I mean, I can understand if you were going hunting an animal and you want to blend in with the trees and stuff, but the fish are in the water.
Yeah, but they can see out of the water, can't they? Can't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my mystery.
I mean, I've never even clocked that before.
I've seen them walking down the street, and my son has said, are they army guys? I said, no, they're going fishing.
They like dressing up in camouflage, even though... Yeah. I mean, I presume that they are... well, because you'd still cast a shadow, wouldn't you, if you were in camouflage?
That's my question. I mean, it's...
No, that's not a question. I mean, you just would. You would cast a shadow if you were in camouflage. Camouflage doesn't hide your shadow. It just makes you blend in with the background. So, I mean, listen, either they're doing it because it's a bit of cosplay and it makes them feel all outdoorsy, or they believe that the fish can see them. There's only 2 possible answers to it, unless they were doing camouflage gear at a special discounted rate at every shop in the country on a certain day. But I think we can rule that one out with some confidence, Martin.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. The other thing was, you were saying about you asked for something on the Wednesday and then you get it on the Thursday. I thought you were going to do a Craig David song.
No, well, that is also one of my favourite jokes, as you know. But I resisted the urge on this occasion, and then you come along and do it for me. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate it. We should go for a drink on Thursday. Whether or not it's champagne or the ones that need specific glasses, only time will tell. Paul's in Preston. Paul, question or answer?
A question.
Carry on, Paul.
I had a mouse get into the house, and it was in one particular drawer eating the pasta.
Okay.
So I got myself a humane trap, caught the mouse, took it about half a mile away, maybe a bit more, let it go. 1 week later, same mouse back in the same drawer.
Hang on a minute. How do you know it was the same mouse?
Well, if it had been like a family of mice, then one of their brothers and sisters would have come in early.
It's not the same mouse. It's not the same mouse.
It's exactly the same mouse.
It's not the same mouse.
Same tail. So what I did was, I caught the mouse again, and I took it literally 4 miles away and let it go in a field.
Yeah.
It's still not come back, so I want to know,
it's not
is it on the way back? And if so, when will it get here?
This is one of my all-time favourites. You honestly think it was the same mouse?
100%, yeah.
100%. 100%. You'd have to tag it, though. I mean, there's no way it's the same.
If it does come back, I will tag it.
But it won't be, that'll be, then you'll have to take it 10 miles away. And also, it won't necessarily, even if it appears in your pasta drawer again, it'll be a third mouse. There's 3. Mice aren't lone operatives. They're not solo. It was not. There's no such thing as a...
If it was like with a gang, one of his mates would have come in.
There are other mice, you just haven't found them yet.
No, in the same drawer.
Yeah, well, because you haven't put the pasta in a Tupperware box, have you?
It was the same drawer, same mouse.
Did it have a key?
I don't even know how it got in.
What's the question? What's the question?
So the question is, how on earth did that mouse find its way back to my house?
It didn't. It didn't.
Not having it, James. It was the same mouse.
Stop it. Oh no. Okay. All right. How did the mouse get back to Paul's house? That's the question. All right. Have you got room in your cupboard for a game, Paul?
Probably, yes, James.
I don't want the mouse nibbling the edges of the mystery out board game box.
In a different drawer, how's that?
I might send you the one in a tin, just to be on the safe side.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Paul. 26 minutes after 12 is the time. Does the old spoon in the champagne bottle work? Why do we have specific glasses for specific drinks? Why does the closed door button in UK lifts never work in the way that it does in much of Southeast Asia? And how did the mouse in Paul's house get back to Paul's house after the mouse was taken half a mile from the house? 0345 6060 973. Andy's in Brighton. Andy, question or answer?
Hello, James. I'm actually in the south of France on holiday today. So I'm having a lovely time. I'm all blissed out.
I bet you are. Well, let's keep it that way. Andy. Go on.
I have a question, and it's about bees and butterflies and other pollinators.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here on this veranda in the sun, looking at this big, thick, dense border of lavender. And all these buzzy, flappy things are flapping around, and it's very interested in all the heads of lavender. And I'm wondering, how do they mark them or not continually revisit the individual heads of lavender or any other flowers? Do you know what I mean, though? How do they not just keep going back to the same ones?
Oh, I see what you mean. So some of them have been emptied, as it were.
Probably, yeah. And they're being very dutiful and going around collecting as much as they can, but they surely revisit them, don't they? And if not,
well, they don't have to spend long. They just sort of fly by, have a quick butcher's, say that one's a bit empty, and move on to the next one. No, what?
Well, I don't know, but do they not have? They're not expending energy in even doing that. Don't they mark them somehow, or do they?
No, they've got a mate who's a mouse who keeps a track of what each flower has done and where it's gone. But he can't do it all the time because he's got to get back home. He's got to get back home to Preston by tea time. I don't. So how do pollinators know which flowers have still got pollen in them?
Well,
or which flowers haven't got pollen?
Back to ones that they've already been to, revisiting them. I'm sure they don't. Sure
well,
that
I bet they do, though. I bet just not for very long.
Efficient.
Not for very long. They must. They're not. No?
I'm not convinced. I don't know. I'd just love to know what the mechanism is. How do they do it?
So would I now.
There you go.
All right, you're on.
That's my question.
Enjoy the rest of your holiday. How long are you away for?
I'm away for another week and a half.
Oh, happy
it's
days.
35 degrees. It is fantastic.
I'm always intrigued by people who live in holiday resorts and then go on holiday.
This is a house that we found. It's in the southwest. It's huge and it's got massive grounds and it's just paradise here.
Wow.
It really is.
Magnifique. Say magnifique.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah.
Andy. Let's find out for him. How do pollinators know which flowers to go to? As in, why don't they go back to... You understand the question. It makes sense. I suppose technically Paul's question about his mouse made sense as well, but if you can answer that one in a sensible and straight-faced fashion, then I will, in the immortal words of the great Les Dennis. I'll give you the board game myself. It's coming up to 12:30. Let's squeeze in one more, actually, shall we? Philip's in Hartlepool. Philip, question or answer?
It's a question, please, James.
Carry on, Philip.
Auctions.
Oh, yes.
I've been to a few lately, and I've also seen this on TV where bidding's going along, say, in £5 increments.
Yeah.
And then it gets to 100, and then the auctioneer starts going up in 10s or 20s.
Yeah.
It gets to 500, and then he starts whacking on in hundreds. And it's this been like always established practice, or is there some unwritten rule around this? Is it just the auctioneer's, discretion that they do this? I mean, I've seen things like from Christie's where they're doing it in millions and they do the same thing.
Yeah, you'd think it almost might be the other way around, in that the higher it got, the smaller the increments would get, because you're trying to squeeze as much out of the room as possible.
Because the other thing is that I've seen stuff and I thought, well, if it goes up in 10s, I can hang in the auction. But all of a sudden it goes to hundreds, and well, that's my house.
Yeah,
so, you're cutting down the number of people that's potentially bidding.
Do you know, I just sort of doing that thing I did earlier about knitting lots of things together. I'm off to the cricket after the show today, Philip. I'm off to the Oval after this. And John in Marylebone, who used to ring in quite a lot, he's a big stalwart of the MCC, but also a brilliant auctioneer. So, unfortunately, he will be at the Oval at the moment because he never misses a match, but he would know the answer. I did it once. I did. What are you trying to buy, by the way?
I'm trying to buy stuff. I'm setting up a pub.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just, sort of memorabilia stuff, and as well as just practical things like tables and chairs.
Oh, I like that.
So, yeah.
All right. Whereabouts is the pub?
In Hartlepool.
Have you got a premises?
Yes, yeah.
Have you got a theme?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of filming's going on in Hartlepool at the moment. They've set up studios. So quite a lot of the stuff that's been on TV lately is being filmed here.
Didn't know that.
So I'm trying to tie that in. So,
well, great idea.
Yeah.
Well, keep us posted. Yeah. I'll give you a free advert when you're open. In the meantime, we'll try and find out what's going on at the auctioneers. Why do they go up in the increments that they go up in? Because it's a good question. That I did an auction once. I've just remembered. I did an auction for the military charity Combat Stress, and I thought I did a flipping brilliant job. I raised loads of money. I was doing this thing. Well, I'd say that table over there and their rivals over there, and I'd say they're laughing at you, and they go, you've got to go, and they'd go, right, but they never asked me back, Philip. I never got... They went with a professional the following year. Sometimes I don't know why I bother. It's like being at work.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. Mind how you go. I'm late for the news. Amelia Cox is here with your headline.
James O'Brien on LBC.
Specific drinks. I don't need anyone else to send me the Noel Gallagher story about Liam being round at his house and asking why he had a teaspoon in his champagne bottle, and Noel said, it keeps it fresh, and then the next time he went round to Liam's house, he'd put a teaspoon in his milk bottle. But true story. Well, at least Noel Gallagher tells that story. Why does the closed door button not work on British lifts? Is it anti-white racism? Because it works in Thailand and in Vietnam. I think we've got a new campaign there. Paul had a mouse in his house, and he took the mouse half a mile away from his house, and he thinks the mouse came back, and I've got a horrible feeling this might be one of those things that I laughed at too much, actually. How did the mouse get back to Paul's house, if indeed it was the same mouse? It's practically a poem. How do bees know which flowers not to go back to, as it were? How do bees know how polleny a flower is? And... why do auctioneers go up in increments that seem a bit counterintuitive? As in, the gap between one bid and the next bid should get smaller as the overall bid gets higher, but the opposite is true. There's quite a lot there, isn't there? I like it. Caroline's in Sandhurst. Caroline, question or answer?
It's an answer.
Marvellous.
I'm still laughing about the mouse.
The mouse in the house. I think you might be laughing on the other side of your face soon. He might actually be right, judging by my inbox, but time will tell, Caroline. Time will tell.
Okay, it's why do we have different glasses for different drinks?
Oh, yes.
I can answer some of them. The champagne, for instance, with the long flute, the tall flute glasses, there's a very small surface area, so the bubbles stay longer in the drink. If it's a flat glass, then the bubbles have got more surface area to sort of disappear. So one is supposed to sip champagne, I believe. So the last sip...
Lightweight.
should contain as many sips as the first. With red wine and brandy, the glasses are slightly balloon-shaped.
Yes.
You're supposed to stick your nose in and put your hand round it and warm it and get the aroma.
And oxidise it as well, I think, with the red in the same way, because you never decant a white wine, do you? I don't think so. With the red, you're trying to get the oxygen into it. That's nice. Is that it? Is that you got champagne, red wine, and brandy?
I think that's all I can do. Yeah.
What about quack?
What about what?
Quack.
What's quack?
Quack. Quack with Belgian beer.
Oh, sorry. No, I don't know. I did used to work in a bar in Spain, and we had so many different beers and different glasses for each one. Yeah. And there was one particular glass that you always had to rinse out in ice cold water before you served it.
Was that? That's the one that you put a lemon in, a bit of lemon in it.
No, I don't know.
Was it Leffy? Was it
Leffy?
Yeah, it's nice. It's quite punchy though. It's about 6.5%.
Yeah.
So why do you know why the beers had specific glasses in the bar that you worked in?
Because the lady I worked for was very particular about putting the right glass for the right beer.
But would it taste different though?
I don't know.
If it was in the wrong glass,
would probably say it would.
Yeah, because it's interesting, isn't it? I like that. Anyway, you've done enough. Qualifications?
I used to be a tour guide, and I took people around the cava cellars in the north of Spain. I learned an awful lot about the champagne method of making wine.
Is that how you pronounce it? I've been saying cava all my life.
Cava, cava.
Oh, well, you live and learn. There you go. But 2 reasons for a round of applause for Caroline. I mean, it's an open-ended question, isn't it, that James asked? Because we could be here all day going through each individual drink that has an individual glass. Some of it will be marketing, won't it? Some of it, of course, will just involve you being served a drink in the glass that the brewery have provided because it's got marketing all over it. So you're holding a little advert in your hand, Guinness being quite a good example of that. But, there's various others as well. And then you've got the Belgian, presumably quite a esoteric approach, almost like vintners. The Belgian approach to beer, with different flavours having different responses and different levels of fizz needing different glasses. But generally speaking, if there is a reason for doing it, it will be to enhance the drinking experience. It's Hergarden with the lemon, isn't it? So rinse the glass out. It's Hergarden. I think it is. Okay, you just serve it in the French house. Anyway, I digress. Thank you, Caroline. Gary's in Darlington. Gary, question or answer?
Question, please, James.
Carry on, Gary.
Why do birds herd sheep?
Pardon?
Why do birds herd sheep? I'll tell you, I'll give you the context behind it. So I was out on Saturday doing some hill running on the sort of Pennines. Lovely, glorious day. Ran through a few sheep fields, as I normally do. And then I just heard this sort of squawking of the birds, and it sounded quite angry. And it wasn't a tweet, and it wasn't a squawk. It was like mid-range between the two. And I thought, what's going on here? Something's getting these birds riled up. And they were about 2 or 3 meters. I spotted them about 2 or 3 meters above my head. And they were 2 of them working as a pair. They were literally flying towards the sheep, squawking, and the sheep were moving as a result of them doing that.
I don't think they were. I don't think the birds were herding sheep on the Pennines.
I think the sheep were definitely reacting to the birds' actions.
What sort of birds were they? Well, I mean, if they were golden eagles, you might have a point here, but
I didn't know at the time.
No.
So I sent the photograph and footage to my mother, who's a keen bird spotter.
Oh yes.
And she said they were lapwings.
So it's not big then.
Oh no, not big birds. No, and because they were black and white, I immediately just put me in mind of a border collie, and I thought. And I'm not saying that's the reason, but
it did cross your mind that the sheep, who are not renowned for their intelligence, nearly made an Ofcom unfriendly joke there, given that it's a by-election day. The sheep looked up and thought that they could see little miniature flying border collies.
No, but the sheep were placid. I think the sheep were placid enough to react, and say, "Look, we don't."
Can I change the question slightly?
Yeah, sure.
Can I say, were the birds that Gary saw on his run herding sheep?
Of course you can. And I've toyed with the question. I've toyed with the question since I saw it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So yes.
I think that might, because it's the certainty that troubles me.
Yeah. So just to confirm it, I ran a few 100 yards over the way along the path, and incidentally, it was sort of about 8 miles west of Barnard Castle, and I know my eyes weren't deceiving me.
Well played. Right, Keith, round of applause for that. Come on, that's genius. Well played.
Yeah. And I thought, because it's a frequent running route of mine, but I'm not sure I've been out when there's been lapwings about or whatever.
No, lovely. Did your mum know? Did you ask your mum? Did you ask your mum?
I didn't ask my mum because I still want to sort of get any clue before I rang you.
Oh, I love it. Oh, okay, so were they herding the sheep?
Yeah,
is that what they were doing?
I saw it a little bit down the road. I thought, listen, have I just been seeing someone? I'm a bit out of breath and eyes deceiving me or whatever.
Do lapwings nest on the ground?
They might do, and I thought it's either something to do with eggs or they're feeding
It could be a brilliant question as opposed to a daft one, which was my initial thought.
And I couldn't nail it down. And the thing is, as well, I thought, it might be me. You know, I'm scaring the sheep, but I've ran through enough sheep fields to know how far you need to be every sheep before you alarm them.
No, absolutely.
And what really got me is that they actually herded them through a gap in the dry stone wall.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah.
You're on. If you said that at the beginning, I might not have been so sceptical. But it's a brilliant question. I think it might be a brilliant question. Did Gary witness lapwings? And I think the species of bird might be crucial here. Herding sheep. 0345 6060 973. James is in Hinksey Hill. Another James. It's the day of the Jameses today. I know. I love it. James, question or answer?
Answer, James.
Carry on, James.
It's to do with the auction increment.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. In short, each auction house will have what they call conditions of sales, which are the rules and regs for people to bid. And one of the clauses will be that the auctioneer can dictate what the increments are going to be.
Right.
Now, the rule of thumb is that you tend to stick to about 10% increments, but depending on how frothy or dry the bidding is, then you'll alter your increments accordingly.
Ah, so you read the room a bit.
That's it.
But of course, if you were going up in £10 was you'd go up £1 at a time. But if it had gone up to £100, you go up £10 at a time.
Yeah, basically, you know, there comes a point where you don't want to go too small on increments because you'll just sort of upset the other bidder and
it'll never end.
That's the golden scenario where it never ends.
Yes, of course.
What you don't want is anyone to drop out.
I got it. Qualifications?
Been an auctioneer for 35 plus years.
I got one today?
No.
Okay. What do auctioneers? Do you have like a signature flourish? Do you do so? Because or do you all do going, gone? And do you all do you like? How much of you do you get into your auctioneering?
An awful lot.
Yeah, I thought so.
I do a bit of sort of tuition as well on it, and quite frankly, you can sort of teach anyone to be an auctioneer, but to be a good auctioneer, so much has to come from yourself with your own personality, and you've done it before.
It's like being a radio presenter. You can teach anyone to do it, but
I don't think it's that difficult.
Well, I was going to say, I thought you were going to say, I don't think it's that easy. I wonder we should do a job swap one day. I loved it, but it didn't. I mean, I've done two actually. I forgot about the other one. I did one for the Andy Taylor Foundation. I nearly lost my voice. It's hard not to bellow, even if you're amplified. That you get caught up in the adrenaline of the moment, but obviously not after 35 plus years. You take it all in your capable stride.
Well, we try.
We try. Lovely stuff. Round of applause for James. Lovely stuff. Thank you. It is 12:46.
James O'Brien on LBC.
I hate this story. I can't bear it. But I guess this counts as good news of sorts. Jamie Varley, the 37-year-old former teacher, has just been sentenced to a whole life order at Preston Crown Court for the murder and sexual abuse of his adopted baby son, Preston. Preston Davey, his given name. And I mean, anyway, a whole life order for 37-year-old Jamie Varley, responsible for the murder and sexual abuse of the little baby Preston, who we were talking about earlier this week. 10 minutes to 1 is the time. More on that story, no doubt, in the course of this afternoon, but we return for the time being to the altogether less serious matter of mystery. Our questions that still need answers include the one about the spoon, the one about the lift, the one about the mouse in the house, the one about the bees, but not the one about the auctions, but the one about the birds. So it's been a curious mixture of booze and natural history this week. Oh, and the one about the fishermen. I like that one. Why do fishermen wear camouflage? Yeah, think about it. Rick's in Bradford. Rick, question or answer?
Answer.
Carry on, Rick.
So the reason that the lift doors don't shut immediately when pressing the button in the UK is due to a standard within the industry that states that the lift doors should be open long enough for somebody that has an impediment or is in a wheelchair to be able to safely enter or exit the lift. So it's not it's completely disabled like it is in America.
Is it? Doesn't work at all in America?
Yeah, it doesn't work at all in America.
Okay.
They're completely disabled in America. Because they're fully automated.
Right.
In the UK, it is considered industry best practice, and it is a standard that the button should only operate once that delay time has expired.
And what's the time?
It's dependent on that particular lift.
Oh, is it?
So it's down to the engineer to make their best assessment.
So it is working, it just doesn't feel like it because there's a delay there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Precisely.
And in Southeast Asia, Thailand and Vietnam were the examples given. Our correspondent was adamant, another James, was adamant that there was no delay at all. You press the button, the door's shut.
Yes. Now, that could be that they are not as stringent on standards and health and safety.
Qualifications?
I'm actually a fire and security engineer, but I actually asked this question to a lift engineer when I was working on site with him.
Okay. Love it. That'll do nicely. Did the lift engineer enjoy his work?
Yeah, as far as I could tell.
It's got its ups and downs, I heard.
Ah, indeed.
That's awful. Give Rick a round of applause. It didn't even work because he's not a lift engineer. Honestly, what an hour. Grant's in Bracknell. Grant, question or answer?
It's an answer, James.
Carry on.
About the mouse in the house.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was the same mouse, but it's a very strong possibility it was.
Shut up.
Mice are very, very territorial.
No
and
way.
unless you put them outside at least 1.5 miles to 2 miles plus, they will find their way back.
The same mouse?
It very possibly the same mouse, yeah. I've had this happen plenty of times. People say they've driven a mile or a couple of 100 metres.
But how do you know it's the same mouse?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It might not be the same mouse, but it's very plausible that it could be the same mouse.
But how do you know, when it is the same mouse, how do you know it's the same mouse?
Because it'd be the same mouse going back to the exact same area that it was feeding on or where it was inhabiting before.
But you've never, put a bit of Tipp-Ex on his head or anything like that?
Well, some mice, you can get different colorations, and it's quite rare to have a...
How do they know the way back? How do they find their way back? Do we know?
Well, mice, everywhere mice go, they urinate and defecate, and they follow their own urine, basically.
Oh, of course they do. It's like Hansel and Gretel, but with wee.
Exactly that.
That's incredible. He was in a humane trap, though, so there'd be no trail.
Yeah, but it would still leave a trail leading up to the trap and all around the desk and where it's been feeding.
Yeah, but you've driven him 1/2 mile away in a humane trap, so there's no trail of wee and poo. Yeah,
but that mouse will still know all the surrounding areas within that distance.
You think so? How? Because it lived there before. And do mice ever work solo? Could you ever have a lone mouse in a house?
Very occasionally, but mice only need 4 to 5 millimetres to get into a house.
Yeah, I know. It's about a biro. It's roughly a biro between the skirting board and the carpet. They can get through that, can't they?
Exactly that.
I remember. So you think Paul's mouse probably was the same mouse?
I think it was the same mouse, to my honest personal view.
I don't believe it. I mean, every single time I laugh. I got hysterical about that one, Grant. You heard? Every single time.
I heard.
It turns out that I'm the mug. Honestly. Qualifications?
I own a pest control company with 25 years' experience.
Good man. Do you think the fact that this question was actually genuine and serious takes away from Paul's qualifications for the game? Because I was going to give him the game because I thought he was being hilarious, but it turns out he wasn't being. He had a natural comic delivery, but the question itself was not comic genius.
No, it happens quite a lot, to be honest, more than what people have realised.
Yeah, clearly. I love that. Anyway, you get a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lovely stuff. Do you want a free advert for your pest control company or not?
Yes, please. It's Woodrush Pest Control, based in Bracknell and covering all the surrounding areas.
There we go, Woodrush Pest Control. You know when you're on a job and you've got the company on the side of the van, do people ask you to park a bit further away so that the neighbours don't know they've got rats and stuff?
sometimes, but we've now got a van that's got magnetic signs, and if they ask for that, we can take it off.
You're a genius, mate. Have another round of applause. Look at that. That's incredible. 12:56 is the time. Simon's in Otley. Simon, question or answer?
Answer, James.
Carry on, Simon.
Camouflage.
Right.
Things are not quite the way they seem. You won't even remember that song, but anyway.
I do remember that song. I do remember that camouflage. Yes, I do.
Not all anglers wear camouflage. It's mainly carp fishermen that wear camouflage. Now, initially, one of the things that carp fishermen do is stalk carp very closely into the bank.
Right.
So they've got to be quite stealthy. But the wearing of camouflage isn't actually necessary. It's mainly sombre, dark clothing, your greens, your browns, that sort of colour that you need to wear. But carp fishing has become such a massive business now that it's very difficult to buy something for carp fishing that's not camouflaged. I mean, I'm a fly fisherman and I don't wear camouflage. Sea fishermen don't wear camouflage.
No.
There's various different branches of angling, and it's mainly carp fishermen.
It's a brilliant answer. You've covered it all. Is it believed or proven that then the carp will be slightly spooked by bright colours?
Well, yes and no. But again, carp fishing, I would probably say that 75% of carp fishing is done at night as well. A lot of carp fishermen night fish.
Oh.
So, which absolutely wipes out the fact that you need to wear camouflage.
Camouflage in the dark. Sounds like a kind of poem, doesn't it? Qualifications. I know you've told us, but you have to tell us again.
I'm just an angler, just a fisherman. Yeah.
So where did you fish up there? Where's the nearest fly fishing?
River Wharf, all up Dales Rivers, up that way.
Round of applause for Simon in Otley. Thank you. 12:58 is the time. You're listening to Joe. Let's squeeze in one more. Can we squeeze in one more? Mick's in God's own country. That's two today. One in Brentford and one in Kidderminster. The beginning, not quite the end, but the current location of my life. Mick, question or answer?
Answer, James, please.
Oh, you're our resident ornithologist.
Well, an ornithologist, a professional. I'm just a keen amateur.
Go. What have you got? So it must be the one about the birds herding the sheep.
Yeah.
What do we reckon?
Herding's the wrong word, really.
Yeah.
All the lapwings are doing, they're just mobbing the sheep because it's going near the nest.
So they ground nest lapwings?
Yeah, lapwings, curlews, anything where he is. He's probably in uplands there. Sheep are a bit of a menace, really, in these places because they can trample nests and they even eat the eggs.
And so the sheep see them the birds see the sheep near the nest and they just kind of dive bomb them until they clear off somewhere else.
Them off.
So they were looking like they were herding them then to Gary.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be doing a Babe the Pig,
Qualifications?
Birder for over 50 years.
Have you been, Mick, have you been to the town hall since they did it up?
No, I've not. I've been past it a couple of times.
You should get down there. It's supposed to be fantastic.
I know. I mean, I was going to... my sister suggested, being a big reggae fan, that I went to see Toots and the Maytals there.
Oh, fantastic.
Sadly, I mean, it ain't Toots and the Maytals because Toots is sadly no longer with us.
Well, that's put the kibosh on your plans. Did you ever see the Big Town Playboys back in the day?
No, I didn't.
Because Mike Sanchez is playing there this summer. I know he's coming back. Bewdley born and bred.
In years gone by, I was working for a drainage company and I cleared his drains once.
Well, the glamour, Mick, the glamour. Have a round of applause.
Kiddie.
Come on, kiddie. And there it is. That's it for today. I'm going to give it to Gary, actually. He got pipped at the post, old Paul, because it turned out his question wasn't as daft as I thought. But Gary's question about the birds and the sheep turned out to be absolutely genius. If you missed any of the show today, you can listen back on the Global Player. I'm quite late. Here's Sheila.
James O'Brien on LBC.